Hello, everyone. Woo, live mic. Good morning, and a big warm welcome to all of you with us this morning. I'm Caroline Avakian. I'm a social entrepreneur, founder of SourceRise, an Emmy-nominated TV correspondent, manager of SourceRise, and I am also honored to be the Latinas Think Big advisory board member, and I will be your host for today. Thank you all so much for joining us this very exciting day. We are hoping to be a very productive day at the Latina Innovation Summit. It's wonderful to see all of you here today, familiar faces, alongside new friends and supporters that have traveled far and wide to be here. We are grateful to have you join us today. We are also incredibly grateful to Google, who have been so supportive of the Latinas Think Big platform, and who have generously invited us today into their space. Today, we get down to work, down to the business of learning and sharing what Latina leadership and innovation in STEM looks like, and to celebrate the remarkable creativity, leadership, and social impact that Latinas are making across our great nation and around the world, as we evidenced by so many of you here today. Some of the women on this stage today have overcome incredible challenges to get where they are. Others joining us are beginning their journey as young scientists and entrepreneurs. But they all share two common denominators: a desire to make a deep and meaningful impact on the world, and to keep blazing a trail for other Latinas and Latinos to keep thinking big. We are here today, all of us together, to show our support and to bear witness to their remarkable contributions, and through their vision and will to lead, the opportunities they are creating for other women and Latinas in the world. I'd like to take a moment right now to welcome our virtual guests who are tuning in right now to view this live streaming event via Google Hangout on Air. And for those of you live tweeting the event, please use our Twitter hashtag that was here just a second ago. It's Latinas Think Big. And I believe we also have a second hashtag, which of course I can't remember right now, but it is Latinas Think Big, so please use that one. And we have an amazing program planned for you today. From conversations with trailblazing entrepreneurs in STEM fields, to discussions about disruptive models and technology, to interactive group sessions this afternoon, a performance by the artist Roxini, and lastly, our signature showcase of talks with 6 Latina innovators. Today will be chock full of inspiring talks, invaluable discussions on STEM and entrepreneurship, and tactical, practical information you can put to work on Monday morning. Oh, and did I mention that a Latinas in STEM program for young Latinas will also be running parallel to this summit and will include mentoring sessions with professionals in STEM careers? So yes, there's a lot of wonderful things going on today. But without further ado, it is my honor to present to you a woman dedicated to bringing forth the ideas behind every woman and Latina. A woman who understands the roadblocks that can get in the way of big dreams, the inherent possibility in each individual, and the power that we generate when we come together like we have today, like we have, and learn, and challenge, and support one another. She is a woman of action, and someone I am proud to call a very dear friend. I present to you the founder and CEO of Latinas Think Big, Dr. Angelica Perez-Litwin.
you. Thank you so much, Caroline. That was very nice. Good morning and welcome. The view from this angle looks amazing. So I want to just start by saying I'm incredibly excited to be here with you this morning. This is a powerful crowd that we have assembled in this room today. I want to welcome all our guests who have traveled from 16 states and 3 countries to join us. I want to welcome our impressive panelists and speakers, supporters, and sponsors. Thank you for joining us. We know you're busy. Welcome to, and we also want to say, before we move on, we want to thank Google, our title sponsor and host, for inviting us into their space and for supporting this important event. We're extremely grateful for their support. I also want to thank our co-sponsors, Wells Fargo, Ford, Verizon, Chevrolet, Capers Center for Social Impact, Farmers Insurance, Bowdoin PR, and the Ivy League Project. Mil gracias. I want to start my welcome remarks by sharing a story. When I was 3 years old, my family, including my parents, grandparents, tios, abuelas, cousins, they took their usual family trip to the beach on an early Saturday morning. Those were always fun days because we were spent it with friends and family. My best friend, or one of my best friends, Diana, was there. And at one point, we both decided to walk to the beach alone and play on the shore. We were there for some time, and when it was time to go back to our parents, I began walking the opposite direction from Diana. I turned around and she said, "It's this way. That's the wrong way. It's this way. Go this way." But I was convinced that I had taken the right path, so I decided to keep walking. It turns out it wasn't. And in fact, I ended up walking very far away from my family. And of course, during this time, as you might imagine, my family was in total despair. They thought I had drowned. They were searching for me all over the beach. My grandparents were crying. My mother was hysterical. Everyone was worried that the unthinkable had happened. I kept walking down the beach, and at one point, a really nice Puerto Rican woman saw that I was walking alone. She came up to me and she said, "Where's your mom?" And I said, "I don't know." And she took me by the hand and walked me and literally went through every family on that beach shore and to look for my parents, and she found them. So I've always been fascinated by that story because at just 3 years old, the core of who I am today was actually already there. I had a mind of my own. I felt confident enough to go my way despite the potential risks involved. You might call that 3-year-old behavior defiant, misdirected, naive, crazy, daring, and I call it independent thinking. I created Latinas Think Big to celebrate independent thinkers, women who are unapologetic about doing things their way. I wanted to create a platform designed to showcase Latina thought leadership and innovative thinking, a platform for women who defy the status quo, cultural scripts, and social expectations. These are the women who are trailblazing, innovating, changing the world, and creating social impact. Many of them are doing things their way. And yes, doing things your way may actually get you lost sometimes, but it might also take you where you need to be. And even if you get lost, I promise you, there will be a Latina out there waiting to guide you in the right direction. And you know, as I was preparing these remarks, and I was practicing this morning, I'm a psychologist in private practice. I'm a clinical psychologist by profession. I realized, well, maybe this is why I love Latinas so much, because this woman saved my life. So I don't know, maybe that's where it comes from. So my vision for Latinas Think Big was to bring talented Latinas and thought leaders to the stages of well-regarded institutions like Columbia University, and we did that last year, and powerful companies like Google, and we've done it twice. I want the world to literally see how Latinas are contributing to this country's social and economic well-being. The platform did not exist. That platform did not exist and was not available to us. So I felt compelled to create it, to build it. Latinas Think Big is not a moment and is not a movement. It is a tipping point. Malcolm Gladwell defines a tipping point as that magic moment when an idea, a trend, a social behavior crosses a threshold, tips, and spreads like fire. The ideas, creativity, and thought leadership of Latinas have always been there, but society has created social forces that work to dissipate that energy. Society is always trying to define the narrative of Latinas. Latinas Think Big allows that narrative to explode. Lesson learned: let's not hope for current systems to change to accommodate us. Let's not hope or wait for media to depict Latina characters accurately. Let's not wait for a boardroom seat to invitation in corporate America. Let's not wait for tenure in fine academic institutions. And instead, let's create our own media. Let's launch our own companies and our own academic institutions. Let's create new systems and new methodologies that work for everyone as we see it in it for us. Sounds crazy? Good. Good. Because truly big ideas they always sound crazy at first until they happen, until they defy and disrupt the status quo. And the unthinkable actually happens. All revolutions begin with one simple idea, and sometimes those are big ideas. Every single panelist today, speaker, presenter you will hear here on stage, believes in the impossible. They believe in the seemingly crazy idea that we can actually do something bigger than ourselves, unimaginable by others. These are the leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs of today and the future. Right here in this large room, we have the talent to seize that moment, to disrupt the status quo, to encourage and support one another and build our own systems, platforms, and opportunities, to come up with big ideas and solutions, to expect, demand, create, and do more to the nth degree. That's my call to you today. We've got what it takes to do this. This room is an example, as you will see, and let me show you who's in the room. So when all of you registered through Eventbrite, we actually asked you a lot of questions. I'm sure you remember those questions. And this is a profile of who's here. We're not counting, obviously, we have high school students here, but of the adults that are here, 44% have bachelor's degrees. The average percent, or the percent of Hispanics over the age of 24 who have a bachelor's degree in this country is 13 to 15%. So we're really 3 times. 39% master's degree, 10% doctor degrees, 6% professional degrees. That's pretty impressive. That's very impressive. Entrepreneurs, all of you here, 31% of you define yourself as an entrepreneur. 30% of you think, this is defined by you. You have a startup, 23% have small businesses, 18% are independent consultants, 10% are social entrepreneurs like Caroline, and 9% consider themselves solopreneurs and freelancers. Professionals in STEM. Of all of you who see yourself as professionals in STEM, 44% of you are in technology, 22% of you are in engineering, 22% of you are in science, and unfortunately only 11% of you are in mathematics. We need to change that. This data, and by the way, I'm a researcher by profession, so I love data. This data was incredibly insightful to me. Because all this time I'm thinking, oh, we need money, we need funding, we need ecosystems. And when you look at this, we ask this question, what are 2 things you need to grow or to bring your business to the next level? And I was just surprised to see the same thing we've been knowing for a long time. Mentoring and coaching, influential networks, right? So my solution to this problem, look next to you, look around you. It's here. This is your influential network. This is your mentoring population. So I urge you today to really connect with one another, exchange email addresses, say hello, exchange ideas, tell people who you are, because you never know, that could be that one mentor you need. We have an exciting day ahead of you, and we took such careful measure to bring you a program that was thoughtful, that was relevant, that was edgy, because sometimes we need to be edgy. A program that has powerhouses women here. And I really hope that you will take advantage of this particular program and again, connect, network, talk to people, and hopefully get inspired. As you leave today, I want you to take this as a reminder. If we build it, they will come. If we build it, they will come. You're all here. So I want you to go build. Okay? Thank you. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to you a real big thinker, an admirable woman with big, bold ideas, and a champion, a true champion of Latinas Think Big. Again, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Eliana Murillo, Head of Multicultural Marketing at Google.
Thank you. Buenos dias, everyone. Before I give you the official bienvenida, I'd love for everyone to just get to know each other. Can you just look to your left and right, say hi to the person next to you for a moment? Okay. Well, you know, they gave me a few minutes to share a few words. You know. But once you get Latinos talking. So they gave me a few minutes to share welcome remarks. And I thought I'd give a few of those minutes up to have you all chat. Because one of the things I think is most important about this event is exactly what Angelica mentioned. It's this network. And I thought I'd rather give you all a few minutes of my time because you didn't come here to hear me speak. You came here to hear the amazing people who are going to take the stage and share incredible ideas and their innovative thinking. And when we think of innovation, that's really having a healthy disregard for the impossible. That's what we think of it. We think of big, radical ideas that will change the world, 10x thinking. And if it's the entrepreneur or the developer or the number of people you hear from today, or if it's the mom or the sister who's doing something incredible, the student who has huge aspirations, you all are innovative thinkers. And it's my pleasure to welcome you all to Google. So, bienvenidas. I'm so thrilled to see all of you here. So excited to have you. And it's just such a pleasure to host Latinas Think Big again, because it is such a representative event of where we're going as a community. And I think the most important part is that we're all here to support each other. So as you got to know each other, I hope that that continues throughout the day. And please come say hi to me, and I'd love to meet you all. And there's plenty of volunteers here who I'd like to thank for supporting the event, both Googlers and Stanford students, and part of Angelica's group of amazing supporters. And just want to thank you all for being here. And I'm probably out of time, but I wanted to share one quick thing. When we think of innovation, I think that's really true to our own identity as Latinas and some of our Latino supporters here as well. And one of the things that we've been developing over the last few months is a way for Latinas and Latinos to express themselves in a different way on the web. So I'm very excited to share something we've been working on. It's actually a new domain space. And so this is my quick little plug, because I actually haven't shared this with a group of my friends and comadres and peers yet. And this is a very big moment for me to be able to share that with you. So in 2 weeks, on October 15th, we'll be launching a new domain. It's like a new .com, .org. There's a few of those that exist now, but the internet is changing, and we're expanding the number of domains that exist. And we're very soon, in how many days now? 12 days, we're launching .soy. So it's a new space where you can represent yourself as who you are. You can be Angelica Perez-Litwin. You can be Diana Garcia.soy, or you can be Maestra.soy, you can be whoever you are. But I'm really excited to share that with you, because we see how innovative Latinas are, and Latinos, how we adopt technology faster than any demographic now, which is incredible when you think of where we started. And to now think that there's a new space that we're excited to bring to life with your ideas, your vision, your business, your identity.
Wanted to share that with you. So very soon you'll hear from me through social media, however you want to stay in touch with me, but more publicly, this is coming to life. And I'm excited to share that here because Angelica and I have been collaborating for some time, and I'm thrilled to share that part of her efforts with the AI Institute and New Latina, they'll be moving over to .soy as well, meaning they're changing their .com domain to .soy to tell the world that this is for and by Latinas. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope you all, consider .soy. It's coming soon, but think of who you are. The identity, that whole theme for .soy is what we're celebrating here today. Who we all are, what we have to share with the world, and the big ideas you bring to this community. So thank you very much.
Gracias, Eliana. And so it is now my great pleasure to introduce to you our opening keynote speaker, La Doctora Frances Colon, who will be sharing her thoughts on the state of Latinas as emerging innovators. Dr. Frances Colon is a Deputy Science and Technology Advisor to the Secretary of State of the United States Department of State, where she promotes integration of science and technology into foreign policy dialogues, global scientific engagement for capacity building, advancement of women in science, and innovation as a tool for economic growth around the world. During her time as Deputy Advisor, Dr. Colon has overseen the creation of the networks of diasporas, an engineering and science initiative to empower diasporas with science expertise to develop and influence effective policies and solve challenges in their countries of origin. Previously, Dr. Colon served the Department of State as the Science and Environment Advisor for Latin American Caribbean Affairs. Dr. Colon also coordinated climate change policy for the Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas, announced by the President Obama. Dr. Colon earned her PhD in neuroscience in 2004 from Brandeis University and earned her Bachelor's of Science in Biology from the University of Puerto Rico, where her passion for science was sparked as an undergraduate researcher. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Dr. Frances Colon.
Oh, there's a stool here. That's great for short people. Okay. There we go. So, good morning. Buenos días. What a pleasure it is to be here. Angelica, you made me cry. You did. I have to say I'm in awe of this room. The energy here is incredible. I went to dinner with a couple of amazing women last night, and I started to feel just the energy. It was really amazing. I've already spoken to a couple of you, and one of you told me that you've started an incubator in Chicago for Latinos. Another one of you last night told me about this amazing technology that allows us to look at media in a new way that could completely impact international relations, and I can't wait to introduce her to everybody back home. And so already I am completely empowered and energized and ready to go. The purpose of my being here is to talk about how policy fits into this, how we might use government, how we might use policy makers and decision makers to propel us even further forward. I know that in Silicon Valley is the tech world, and folks know their stuff here regarding technology. The people in DC, who are those folks that are over there making decisions? I'll tell you something. The reason I went to DC in 2006, when I graduated with my PhD in developmental neuro, was because I wanted to have an impact. I wanted to change things. And so I'm looking for my clicker. Do I have it? Is this it? Okay. So I wanted to have an impact. I wanted to use my scientific background to change the way things were being done. And I got there thinking, ¿Quiénes son esa gente? What are they doing? I was angry. I was doing my PhD thinking, these people have no idea what they're doing. What are they doing to research funding? There's no opportunities. There's no access. I got there and I found a lot of really bright people. And I've had the pleasure of working alongside them ever since. And I will talk about that policy aspect of my work in the next few minutes. But, okay. There's two slides together. Let's see. Okay. Latinas are at an incredible point in history in this country. Recently, Nielsen released the Latina Power Shift report, which put in perspective the place where we are. And we have an incredible opportunity. You are striking at just the right time with this. We have 1.2 trillion annually in buying power. We are outpacing our hermanos Latinos in terms of education and career opportunities, the way we seek these. We have exceeded females from other groups in college enrollment. And we have embraced entrepreneurship, and you'll hear later on from Alejandra Castillo, Latina firms are rising pretty quickly. In the period of time from 2002 to 2007, there was an increase in 46% in terms of Latina-created firms in this country. So what are we to do? Today, like Angelica said, this is an opportunity. The way I looked at my trajectory was an opportunity. When I got to DC, I figured out that I could use my bicultural skills to advance our country's agenda abroad. No es lo mismo getting to a foreign country and saying, buenos dias, hi, and they say, oh, where's the US delegation? I'm saying, I'm the US delegation. The face of this country has changed. I do my diplomacy con besos y abrazos. I talk about STEM, and I'm a woman, I'm Latina, I'm 5 feet tall, and they don't know what's going on. It's okay. I'm Latina, I am American, I am a scientist, and I am a diplomat. I don't have an alternative science career. I want people to stop saying that. That doesn't exist. I am a scientist that is also a diplomat. That's how I use my skills. And I think scientists, women, Latinas with technology backgrounds can pretty much do anything. If you want to run for office, after you start your startup, you can do that. I want more of you to run for office. I want more of you to link up with us in DC. Okay? And of course, I do all these things on foreign policy, and it's very exciting. But one of the things that really strikes me is the fact that what we do domestically on technology, on STEM, the way we empower our Latina students, the way we empower our Latina women, impacts us abroad. Our competitive edge depends on what happens here today. Other countries are investing heavily in their young people, in their scientists, in their research and development. They know the value of investing in those areas, and they are gaining a competitive edge. What are we going to do? What can you do? We have to compete globally, and we have a special opportunity. By 2060, 37% of the undergraduate population in the US is going to be Latino. That is huge. Are we investing now so that we can have an impact later? As a country right now, we are not among the top performers. And since 1995, we have either stayed at the same place in international trends, or maybe even slipped a little. But we have an opportunity. I'm happy to talk about challenges, but I really want you to focus on what this means in terms of opportunity. Think Silicon Valley, but think DC. How do you get things to change there so they can help you? And think globally. How do we maintain that competitive edge? Our young students are not reaching grade-specific proficiency in math and science currently. And Hispanics perform even lower than other groups. We have novice science teachers. Those are teachers that have 2 years or less of experience in the classroom, specifically in the classrooms where our Latino students are going to class. Science teachers say they have inadequate facilities and funding. They don't give them enough time in the day to teach science, so it's the class that falls on the wayside. A few of our kids take AP placement tests. But the President's Council of Advisors in Science and Technology has said that we need to really, really work on those STEM degrees and getting more people to choose these STEM careers in order to maintain a competitive edge. 37% of Latinas intend to have a science or engineering major when they enter. It's in fact increased by 8% in the last 14 years. Still, the areas that are technology heavy or patent intensive areas, we have very low percentages. Think computer science is 1%, engineering 3%, et cetera. Look at the opportunity. Our women that are employed in science and engineering have a salary premium. They get paid more. Even folks that do a science and engineering job without having a science and engineering degree get paid more than their counterparts. Those people with science and engineering degrees are less often unemployed. In the workforce, Hispanics make up 6% of the engineering workforce, 2% of the tech workforce, 5% of computer and math scientists, 4% of software developers. ¿Qué tenemos que hacer para cambiar eso? Female patents in the US are at 7%. But we've in fact doubled the number of patents filed in the last 22 years. So again, we have challenges, but we have opportunities. They are growing. If we look at the makeup of boards across Silicon Valley, but across scientific advisory boards in the US in general, we're looking at pretty low numbers. Scientific advisory boards, women make up 5% of the makeup of all scientific advisory boards. You know what happens at scientific advisory boards? Men trade information and tips. They tell each other what to invest in. They recommend each other for jobs, for consulting gigs. Dinero. Why is that? When all the reports across the board, Credit Suisse, McKinsey, all tell us that executive boards with women have higher return on investment. They make more money. Tech companies headed by women make 35% more return on investment. So what can we do? Where am I on time? Can somebody tell me the time? 5, perfect. I want us to stop wishing really, really hard that things will change. I want us to stop thinking that it's somebody in DC that has to change those policies. Somebody will advocate for you. No, you have to advocate for you. We have to advocate for us. Call things out. There's no women on that board? Don't go to that conference. We have voting and vocal power. Put it to use. Policymakers work for you. I work for you. You pay my salary. I have a responsibility to you, as do all of your decision makers and your policymakers, locally and nationally. Hold them accountable. Are the Latino policy advocacy organizations across the country and in DC putting STEM and tech and training at the top of their priority list? If not, let them hear you. Get politically savvy. Make use of those platforms out there for role models. Our Latinas are not seeing enough of you. They need to see you. If they can't see you, they can't be you. Sometimes what surrounds them looks nothing like this. They need to see you. Last night I heard somebody at dinner say, you must lift while you're climbing. I believe that that's our responsibility. I give a lot of talks for scientists, and they always say, what's going on in DC? Why aren't people communicating science correctly? Why don't people know about these things? And my response is, are you communicating your science? Who paid for your grant? Taxpayers. Yet do you get out from your university and your lab bench to tell them the results of your work? To tell them how it impacts them every day? We have a responsibility to technology, we have a responsibility to move our businesses forward, but we have a responsibility to our community as well. They need to know you, they need to see you, you need to blog, you need to tweet, you need to be out there to lift others while you're climbing. I'm really excited about today. I can't wait to meet all of you. I'm going to make it happen. I'll meet all of you. I'm going to finish now because I want to leave maybe 1 or 2 minutes for questions. Angelica and I talked about that, so we have 3 minutes. So thank you so much. I can't see anything. It's like a. It's okay. Is this it? Okay. Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Cynthia Florentino. I recently relocated to the DC area. What advice would you give a young Latina who is pursuing a grad degree to enter the realm of policy in tech when there are such few faces that look like mine? Thank you.
You're welcome. So are you thinking about how do you influence policy or how do you work on policy in government, things like that?
Well, how do you break in? Or
How do you break in?
yeah.
So my advice is always to use what you have. We all have strengths, and there's areas where we are very unique. I think one of the things you have to do is figure out where your niche is. I think that there's many opportunities in DC with policy advocacy organizations that are looking for talent. I know we get there and we think, this is such a big monster. Where do I fit in? Ellos me van a querer a mí. I think the question is, we need you. Let's find where your strength is. We can talk after. Let's figure out where you fit in, and let's put you out there. I think that we all have this little bit of imposter syndrome, right? How do I break in? Are you kidding? I can't wait to go to coffee with you when we get back. I want to see the 10 people. That's why we're here, right? Networking. So let's talk about it, but I think that there's many opportunities. Don't doubt it for a second, and we'll make it happen, okay?
Great. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
One more?
Doctora Colon, un placer.
Encantada.
My name is Monica Taher, and I am about to launch a startup. I own my own business as well. My 16-year-old daughter is a junior in high school. She just launched beyondthedream.org, which basically is a nonprofit organization that will, she's not here today, she's in school, but it's basically an organization that will focus on reaching out to top Latina students in inner city schools in a pilot program in LA, starting in LA, for them to have an opportunity to go to campuses like UCLA, USC, Cal State LA. These kids had never set foot in a university. And it's just about motivating them in order for them to let them know that, yes, there is a chance, that they have a chance. I want to know, what can we do in order to get you on the advisory board?
Oh. I thought she was going to say, where does she go for funding? I was like, National Science Foundation, National Girls Collaborative Project. No, yes, okay, done.
Thank
All
you.
right.
I'll look for you later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this on? Yep, it's on. Thank you so much, Dr. Colon. Oh my gosh, are we seeing the networking alive and happening? It's real, people. And her name is Dr. Colon. And now I'd like to take us right into our first plenary session titled Advancing Latina Innovation, From Tech Consumers to Tech Entrepreneurs, Identifying Current and Disruptive Models. The panel will present an overarching discussion on the barriers, opportunities, and disruptive models needed to move Latinas forward in the technology and innovation sectors. The panel will end with a 10-minute Q&A with all of you. So start thinking about those burning questions. And will be moderated by Andrea Geldenman. Andrea Geldenman is currently at work in the production of Be Visible, a series of events that will take place in Denver, Albuquerque, San Antonio, Texas, and Phoenix, Arizona. In partnership with other progressive organizations, Be Visible will examine and celebrate how Latinas in the US can move from being followers of innovation to being the creators of innovation, and particularly innovation with a social purpose. In addition to producing entrepreneurial events, Andrea teaches corporations at CU Boulder Law School and is leading the creation of the new Impact Investing and Social Entrepreneurship Center with Silicon Flatirons, the most important center of entrepreneurship at CU Boulder. Andrea is an advisor for the National Center for Women in Information Technology and is the faculty chair for the social entrepreneurship track of the New Venture Challenge organized by CU Boulder to foster entrepreneurship across the campus. Andrea also sits on several committees across the university on issues of entrepreneurship and social innovation. Andrea and distinguished panelists, I invite you to the stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this wonderful introduction, and I don't know if, anyway, sounds great. Muchas gracias primero que nada to Angelica here. I am deeply honored to have been invited by Dr. Angelica Perez-Litwin to moderate this important discussion. I want to commend Angelica's work. She is a crusader, really, and a very generous and gentle one. I mean, you heard her, how generous she is. And talk about thinking big. She's really leading by example. She has been able to gather in this room the most important thought leaders in the issues of US Latinas and technology today. What we will be discussing today in this panel with some amazing panelists are some of the key issues to help Latinas break into, and I want to use this word, break into the innovation economy. How can we encourage Latinas to study careers in math and engineering, to start tech startups, and to consider tech careers and harness their amazing potential? This is a great start, what we're going to start right now on this important national debate. So thank you for the opportunity, Angelica. I would like to introduce our panelists. First of all, let me start with by Ileana Rivera, because I have them like this, so it's not by, sorry. She is recently, as of last week, was named the Global Senior Director for IT at Cisco. She is, bravo. She's in charge of 60,000 employees.
Well,
okay.
Users.
She's in charge of, for the areas of experience for users globally in the area of mobility, desktop, apps, cloud, and productivity. She holds an engineering degree from the University of Puerto Rico and a master's degree in information systems from the University of San Francisco, California. She is also a member of the Hispanic IT Executive Council and one of the top 100 most influential Hispanics in IT. So welcome, Ileana.
Thank you.
I would like to introduce next to Silvia Flores. Silvia Flores is the co-founder and the Chief Operating Officer, or COO, of Manos Accelerator, the first Hispanic-focused accelerator in the US. She has a huge, amazing career, but I'm just going to give some of the highlights of her career because it's been extremely long and successful. In 2003, she worked with former President of Mexico, Vicente Fox, to establish a technology incubator for Mexican entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. She has served as the regional national vice president for the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. And she has been awarded Entrepreneur of the Year in 2003 for Latino Style magazine. She earned her chemical degree from San Jose State University. Viva San Jose. Another amazing trailblazer here, Silvia Vázquez Lavado. is the principal of enterprise business intelligence for eBay. She has been recognized as a global technology innovator and leader, and is sought after for business intelligence and global SAP. But apart from that, she has a whole parallel career as a humanitarian and social entrepreneur. She recently launched Courageous Girls to heal and empower sexually abused girls. And she's going to take them on a trip to the Everest in March 2015. Mm-hmm. She's originally from Lima, Peru. She holds a BA in accounting from Millersville University of Pennsylvania, and she received a Fulbright scholarship. She's also an avid mountaineer, and she has climbed 7 summits, something like. I cannot even explain it. Yeah. Okay, Luz Rivas. Luz is the founder of DYU Girls, and DYU Girls is a nationally recognized not-for-profit organization that helps girls acquire STEM-style skills. She started her career as an electric engineer at Motorola, and after several years of working in technology, she transitioned to STEM education. And we're very lucky that she did that because she's made a huge impact. So Luz has a bachelor's degree in science in electrical engineering from MIT, and an education degree from Harvard Graduate School of Education. So,
wow. Yes.
As you can see, a level. I miss my fellow country girl, so that's horrible. Sorry. Laura Chicurella is originally from Chile. We just became friends, so it's like, Laura, she's there. She's an entrepreneur, and she founded Chicurella UK, which she presented BBC Dragons Den, Shark Tank of the UK, and won the Cartier Women's Initiative Award for Europe in 2008. She currently lives in the Bay Area, and she's the founder of Women's Startup, a community for women founders in technology. And also, she is at work on YouGreat, which is a mobile technology platform for social connections. So we have representatives from all areas of the innovation economy here. Sorry about that. So, hello. So we're gonna, I guess, cover 4 important things in this discussion, from technical skills to work in corporate America to leadership networks, and finally an open discussion. So, on the issue of technical skills, my first question is for you, Luz. What would you say are the key elements to help Latinas acquire technical skills during grade school, middle school, and beyond? And what messages resonate from the work you do? And how important are families and role models?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to start early. The programs that my organization runs start with 5th grade girls. So that's about 10 years old. So far, all of the girls that have participated in our programs are Latina, and they live in communities where the majority of people are Latinos too. So we're all in a Latino community. Most of the girls' parents are immigrants from either Mexico or Central America. And so far, what we have found that has really resonated with the girls and with their families is they're making real products. So everything that they make in DIY Girls is something that they can take home and their little brothers and sisters can play with. So they've designed and made their own toys using a 3D printer. They've done a lot of electronics projects. And so they take it home, and it's actually something that people value, right? It doesn't look like this typical school project. And it's using technology, and it's obvious that they needed a technical skill to build that product. And what we have found from the parents is that they can't believe that their daughters made this, and they're very proud of them. And that gives the girls more confidence that early on. So they're 10 years old, they're being, praised by their families and their friends and the teachers. And I think that really motivates the girls to want to continue learning more. And then from there, I think as they transition to middle school, it's based, on their interest. That they've developed these skills in elementary, and then they continue to be interested in middle school. And that's what we're working on right now. Currently, we work with 5th to 9th grade girls. And our goal for the middle school years, like you mentioned, what should we do in grade school? I think grade school is about just getting them interested and engaged and providing the space and the time for them to do this. And I think middle school is the hard part, is keeping them interested, right? Because that's when girls start to develop and they're changing and influenced by more people outside of the family. And that's what my organization is working on providing role models and mentors to keep that interest in technology.
That's very interesting. And Ileana, you share with me a story that I would love you to share with the whole room of how you became interested in technology. And
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, I have to correct a little thing. So I do not have 60,000 employees.
Oh, okay.
If not, then I don't know that I will be smiling today. I have 60,000 users.
Okay.
So all of Cisco's employees are actually my users in this new role. But I will have 60,000 employees one day. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was telling Andrea that I studied engineer, and I think when I was going to school, I don't think that I was that interested in math. But my mom only finished 5th grade in Puerto Rico, and I'm born and raised in Puerto Rico. My dad never finished high school. But while my dad was being an electrician, he needed to pass a certification. In order for him to pass a certification, he needed to have a high school diploma. And so he asked for my help to help him on math. And so my big macho dad from Puerto Rico asking his high schooler to help him on fractions and to how to do math. And up to this day, math and fractions are my favorite subject in the entire world. So I can see a pie and I will tell you exactly how fraction works. so I think that's what Angelica was saying this morning, Latinas Think Big. You don't have to see it to believe it. You don't have to see it to be it. You just have to imagine it. You just have to dream it. You just have to have it inside of you. And let me tell you, we all go far, very far.
That's great. Now, moving from childhood to once you're in corporate America, what is the key to help Latinas, first of all, get a job in a tech company? And what is holding Latinas back from applying for, it's great that we're at Google discussing this, but what is holding them back from applying to these jobs? Is the lack of technical skills, or are there bigger factors, or are they scared of something? What is your opinion about this?
So my first piece is for anybody who wants to apply, you just apply for them. You can reach out to me. I'm here all day, so please come in. My LinkedIn is pretty open as well. I'm huge about when people are interested, just reach out, and internally, I'll try connecting you as much as I can. I think we need to demystify a fear. I think we have a self-imposed fear that, wow, in order to get a job in technology, maybe I need to be an engineer, maybe I need to be having a particular set of skills, and we sometimes self-limit ourselves. Like in my own case, I'm not an engineer. I have engineers that work for me. And I even started with, I came here with a scholarship. So when I finished my degree here, I was still as an international student with a 1-year visa, and I desperately wanted to stay in this country legally. So I looked for a job at a company that wasn't a tech company that was willing to give me that, H-1B and the potential of getting a green card. But even I remember about 3 or 4 years within my role after college, I wanted to work in technology. So I worked hard. I got specialized in certain areas that facilitated a transition in it. And the other piece too, within the corporate world, you just don't need to have an engineering degree per se. We have, as corporations, there's just so many different areas that you can start working. There's marketing, there's HR, there's just a variety of different components that can ultimately let you, if you want to get more involved in technology, you can actually explore that part of it. So a lot of it is kind of demystifying what we think you need to have as skills in order to be in a tech company. And even once you are in in my case with eBay, we are almost like a mini university. Once you're there, there's just so many classes that you can keep taking. There's just so much training classes, training courses that you can do that can beef up certain areas that you might want to, kind of pursue that can lead you into more of a technical role. I've been with eBay for about 8 years. My first year I was in San Jose, and then I went about 4 years abroad. So I was working in Europe, and when I moved back, I was really taken about the explosion on the mobile side. And so many people that got involved in mobility as well. This is a new technology that even wasn't around, so many years ago. But people are able to develop the skills within the job. So the piece is actually just getting over that mental block. Everybody here is definitely, qualified to get there. And don't think that you need to have this particular background. Just give it a shot. And reach out to us. We are the mentors here. We're here to serve you. It's like you guys are the next generation for me, and I get excited about it. So
that's great. And Laura, tell us your experience about in entrepreneurship. You also have been in tech entrepreneur without having a technology background. So is it possible to create a tech startup without a technology background? And is it possible to fundraise for a technology startup without a technology background?
Yeah, actually, I agree with you in the sense of demystifying the sense that you really need to have, for example, the technology background to really work in a company in the technology field. These days, what I've noticed, for example, I was an entrepreneur in Europe in a completely different industry. And when we moved here, and I decided to start a company in technology, and it was starting from scratch. So it wasn't just having the experience in the field, it was building the ecosystem around it and getting in the network to really make it work. And what really surprised me, actually I came here in 2009, is that first of all, the amount of information that is out there, the resources available. Now for women, I've seen an explosion in the last 2 years. Actually, when I built the women network, there weren't many resources for women. They were just like Women 2.0, which was pretty much virtual. And I wanted to build a network to really support me in this learning path of starting to learn about the technology industry and starting my company. So it was like both ways, building a community and also creating the resources available to start this company in technology. I'm a true believer that there are not really any barriers to existing, only the ones that you impose to yourself. And actually, as I say, there are so many resources available and information that if you really get into, if you really have the drive and you know where you want to get into, the industry, where you want the sector, there are so many conferences, and you can spend hours if you want researching and learning about an industry. Actually, I'm very impressed about like how much you can learn just by asking, going to conferences, listening to people in the field, looking at the trends where the industries are going, and basically, use that research to sound like not like an expert. And that I think is also a very important element, is that I think women are more open to ask for advice in comparison to men. So I think it's very useful when you leave that expert mind in your house, or your egos in the house. And when you go out and you are a beginner, you are more open to receive insights and ask for questions, because if you carry the expert flag, you are like kind of like, I know it all. Whatever you say, it's like, yeah, that's great, but I know better. You know what I mean? And when you go with a beginner mind, or I'm just about to start and I really want to learn, you are more open to receive these insights, and ask the right questions. So I think it's like one is the drive, of course, to really want to learn. Second is like use the resources available.
Including finding your own team that you mentioned in the call.
Oh yes, that's also very critical. What I've noticed even in the women network is that there are so many women that they don't have a technology background like myself. But actually, I mean, at least we are here in the Bay Area. I don't know how it's in other states in US, but if you really have a good idea and a good strategy behind, because you know an idea is just an idea, it's all about execution. So, and it's the same with investors, you know? It's like if you approach an investor, they wouldn't just, I mean, decline your offer just because you're a woman or you are Latin or you didn't have a technology background. It will be because your idea doesn't resonate, you don't have a clear strategy, and you don't have a good team, you know? So here it's not about nationalities, gender, and if you have a technology background or not, you know? But that's what I've seen in the sense that if you go with a clear idea of where you want to go, the clear strategy, that will also attract the right people to complement your skills, you know? And even if you don't have the technology expertise, I mean, even still to attract good engineers, you know, to build your team, you still have to sound to them like you know what you're doing, because there are so many opportunities available. That of course is an opportunity cost for them to go and work for you rather than go and build their own, you know? So it goes back to the point of like, know where you are going to, ask for the right questions, use the resources available, and once you have a clear idea of what you want to do, just define a clear strategy, you know, and spread that around, and people will come, you know, building the right team and hopefully finding the investment that you need to achieve it.
This is very interesting. We've concluded this first part of this conversation about the technical skills and how they are acquirable in every aspect of the innovation economy. Let's move to leadership now. Are those skills acquirable? Are you born a natural leader? Can you become a leader? Do you have, what does it take? What is holding Latinas back? Let's start with you.
Well, from my own personal experience, I don't think I was born a leader. I think I developed into one. And I really believe that nothing is natural, you know, like even like in my own background, like with math. I mean, I was good at math because I worked hard at it, not because I was just a genius or anything like that. And that's the perception, right, that most of the public has. And I think the same is true about leadership. If we're given opportunities to practice it and to develop our own skills, then of course we're going to be good at it. And like in my own case, in starting my own organization, you know, I had to work on my own leadership skills, you know, for a few years. You know, public speaking, you know, everything that comes with being a leader. There were some areas where I thought I really need to work hard at this before I do this. And I knew I wanted to start something, and I didn't start it right away. It took me a few years. And those years, I focused on the skills that I needed to develop to be a good leader. Right? Because I felt I owed it to the girls that I would be serving to be the best leader possible. And that's what keeps me motivated right now. But that means that I have to work hard and, you know, like I said, develop my leadership skills and ask for help and mentoring when I need it.
And Ileana, you are in this incredible leadership position right now. What is your experience with this topic?
No, absolutely, and I also want to talk a little bit to the girls from high school that are here, because it's very, very important. I mean, the main thing when I was in Puerto Rico, I remember there are so many things that happen around us, at home, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, especially if you live in a Latino community, everywhere in the States or in Latin America. You have to somehow block those things, right? Leadership starts by just saying, what do I want? How do I get out of this probably vicious cycle that is happening all around us? It happens to me, and it can happen to all of you. So start making your list. I remember when I was little, I knew I wanted to have a white microwave, I wanted to dress in white, and I wanted to have white couches. But the most important thing is the white part, right? If you were living in Puerto Rico at that age, all the couches were brown or very dark colors. There is no light there because it will get dirty. And then I will get all the hand-me-downs for all my 6 sisters because they were never. So you grew up with those things, and girls just start writing these down. And yes, there's going to be stereotypes and things that you have to go after. And then when I came to the States, of course you're going to have stereotypes. Maybe you are too Latina for that job. Maybe you are too pretty for that job. Because there's a stereotype that if you're too pretty, then you're probably not smart. I actually have a high schooler that came to me and told me that, hey, I want to be an engineer, but my friend's telling me that then I will be a geek. I don't know about you, but I don't look like a geek. Let me just put it that way. So I brought her to Cisco, and I'm like, let me tell you how cool it is to be an engineer. So we spend a day and do that. So girls, don't be foolish by that. And don't be foolish if you're in high school. Don't be foolish if you're here. When I go to Latin America, most of the time, I am the only executive woman in a group of 20 men. You know, some women may probably feel intimidated by that. I loved it. Guess what? Because those men, nobody's going to remember them. But I bet you they are going to remember me. They're going to remember my name, what I was wearing, what I said. And believe me, those stereotypes, I have gone to Mexico a lot and to others, and they think that I am just the wife of somebody that came. But that's okay. Let them fool you or fool them. And then, but the important thing is when you get to that stage, when you get to that presentation, what get out of your mouth, that's what's important. Mm-hmm. And that's leadership. Break those stereotypes, break them. Don't worry about it. Be yourself. Be an engineer with high heels. Be a fashion engineer. I don't care. Just be yourself.
And we're going to get to Sylvia in a minute because we're talking on other topics, but then she will be really running the show. I just want to ask the last question about leadership and what can companies do to create more leaders?
Mm-hmm. So right now for eBay, I mean, in terms of leadership, we have been going through a big journey. Even when I started, Meg Whitman, who used to be the CEO of eBay, and that was one of the reasons that I remember being excited. I'm like, oh my God, a women leader. I can just imagine all these programs in the company. I got in, and there were none. If anything, it was very disappointing. I mean, it was a very male-dominated environment. So it was a little bit as to like, And I remember, I mean, I ended up being in Europe for most of my early part of my career. So when I moved back, there still was a lot of interest, not a lot of push. Ultimately, we got executives behind the idea of start developing stronger women's network. And so we started by, and outside that part, we had a lot of small grassroots groups that were women engineers that were trying to get together, trying to actually create programs for themselves. And so we have put a lot of pressure, and it's been amazing. I mean, eBay has now a very focused women's initiative program that they try to, help us with a lot of talent development, different classes, just, keep developing our leadership skills. And what we're starting to do now is doing the outreach to other, to outside different groups, working with schools, working with a smaller organizations. So it's a lot of it, I think, has been our own internal push. And that will be my ask a lot as well for the people attending here, not being afraid of asking in your companies, not being afraid of raising that up, to your managers about, what about, developing my leadership skills? What is it that I need to do? I think for us, it was just a lot of people wondering what is happening here to get it done. So that is the one piece, and I think we're getting very lucky that the statistics are coming out on just the overall numbers, how many women and diversity are out there, that it is starting to help the cause. I mean, companies don't want to look bad. So they're, feeling like, okay, we have to keep the development here. We have to put a little bit of money. And so we've done a great stride on women. Our next piece is diversity. And that's something that I'm getting very passionate about. And I think we have an opportunity in this summit, I mean, many of us leaders, to see how we can continue that momentum. I mean, we can create a very strong network, how we keep supporting each other going forward, how we support our younger generation.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. Well, let's move to a topic. So we've talked to the developing technology skills and developing leadership skills, and how do we develop networks? And here we have the foremost expert in the topic of Latinos and networks. what is the importance of the Latino connection to bring more women into technical careers, entrepreneurship? What is the role of networks, et cetera?
Well, first I want to say that I'm very thrilled to be here at Google because Google is our founding partner for Manos Accelerator.
Oh.
I actually almost live here because I'm with the Manos family. And I just want to say that for what we're doing at Manos is we are true pioneers. We are actually leveling the playing field for Latinos and Latinas who want to start their companies in high tech. And I'm very, very excited to see Latinas apply to come to Silicon Valley who are innovators and creators of the technologies that are going to change the world. And hopefully in the next 5 years, we will see a Latino or Latina be a CEO of a high-tech company here in Silicon Valley. And about the networking, let me focus on that. When I had my startup, I had 2 startups. And I remember you have to network yourself in the ecosystem here in Silicon Valley. You can't just stay in your own little world. You have to go out there and you have to meet as many people as possible. People who have money, people who have influence, people who could help you as a mentor, people who could coach you. It's not something that I could, it's a recipe. You got to go out there and you got to have so much passion in yourself and believe in yourself and have perseverance of the ups and downs that you're going to have when you start a business. And I think here in Silicon Valley is probably the best network in the world because we have so much talent in the Bay Area of smart people. And you just need to do that. And you need to really go out there and believe in yourself and try to put a team that could help you. And the networking is amazing here. So it's not what you know, it's who you know.
But and what about the particular network that you're creating within Manos?
Yes.
Why is it Latino focused? What is the benefit? I mean, we're seeing it in this summit, but
Okay, so here at our Manos Accelerator, we're based in San Jose. We're original to Silicon Valley. I was born and raised here, so I got to see this valley grow from a farming community to a high-tech community. My grandparents were from Mexico. They were farm workers, picking cherries and apricots and everything out there. And now I'm picking companies. So for us to be one of the partners of Google in the world that is focusing on Latino entrepreneurship, there's 73 partners around the world, and we're one of them. It's an honor to work with Google for entrepreneurs and to really promote and inspire Latinos to apply to our accelerator. And let me tell you what I think it's different between us and I think other accelerators. I don't know if you all heard about Y Combinator, 500 startups, Techstars. I mean, there's so many out there. And I think for us is that we're like a familia. We go pick you up at the airport, make you menudo and pozole. We're like a family. We leave our egos outside. I think that's probably one thing that makes us very unique is that we are there to help each other. When I was in college and I was going through calculus and PChem and physics, and I was like, oh my God, all these hard courses. And I was part of SHIP, Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. And it was all these Latinos and Latinas were taking the same courses, calculus, everything else. And we were all helping each other. And we had a blast learning. And it made it easier to go through college because all of us were helping. Hey, did you get that equation? Or did you figure out that chemistry, whatever? And all of us helped each other. And that's what it is about Manos, is that when we're in there, we're going 100 miles an hour to get our companies out there and get them funded. And so all of us help. One startup could help the other startup make a video, or they all use their own unique strengths. And I think that's what's really unique about us. And I think when people come and apply, they would ask us, what's so different from you and then somebody else? We also have a network of mentors. It's not Latinos and only for Latinos. It's bringing Latinos and opening them to the best that Silicon Valley has to offer.
That makes sense. And maybe a question that both of you can help answer together. How do we encourage Latinas to be more entrepreneurial? You guys can discuss and tell me.
Yeah, well, actually, probably I will sound controversial because as we discussed before, even though I'm Latino by heart and I love being from Latin America, even though people don't think I am, I never carry the Latin flag or the women flag, you know, approaching investors or people, you know. I try to, even because of what you were saying, I mean, there are a lot of prejudices, you know, if they look at you, that you behave, or you look a certain way, or did you dress a certain way. You know, there are a lot of like stereotypes to break, and it's difficult, you know. But this is where your personality comes through, and again, strategy or your vision, you know, and how you can transmit that you have the power to make things happen. My point is that personally, and I did that in Europe as well, well, there were not many resources that there are here, and there wasn't an entrepreneurial ecosystem. But I personally never tried to identify myself with a group. Let's say I'm a woman, or I would just go to the Latin network, or I would just. I agree with Sylvia in the sense that, I mean, we are Latin, and even though we have a lot of differences across South America and Latin America, there is something that is in common, that we are warm, we are very collaborative, and they have the family orientation, the family sense, and I think that is a big difference comparing to Anglo-American countries and Europeans. And probably this is where it comes, like the sense of helping and supporting, and even though there are some different, I mean, cultural differences, you know, but my point is, I agree with you in the sense of like Latinos trying to help each other. Now, based on your question, like how to help more Latinas to become entrepreneurs, I wouldn't just say Latinas. I mean, well, it's right. I mean, we are in a Latinas conference, so of course that will be appropriate. But my point is like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you can do it, you know? I mean, you have the power to do it. If you have the drive, just work hard, you know, find the resources, connect, network, you know, go out there and lose the fear of failure, you know, just try. And again, leave, you know, the egos at home, you know, leave the fears, because I think fear is the highest barrier, but it's a personal barrier, you know. It's not that the environment is imposing you to have fear. Here is the opposite. You see everything is happening, you know, people are doing things, so it's like, why wouldn't I be able to do it, you know, if there are the resources? It's your fear, overcoming your fears. And just believing in yourself that you can do it. And particularly if you have networks like Manos, you know, that support Latinos and have these very familiar elements, that will be even more helpful. You know?
I would say to encourage Latinas to be an entrepreneur, I think it's great. And if you're young, even better, because you have a longer runway to experience this. If you don't make it, you could work for a high-tech company. But I would start by maybe studying, doing some research. There's great resources at Stanford, the Center for Entrepreneurship. There's a great team over there of Latinos that are doing some great work. And there's stuff online at Stanford where you could study what does it take to be an entrepreneur. These are the things you're going to have. You need to have this before you even apply to maybe an accelerator or launch a business. It kind of educates you, like what you're going to see and what you need to have. And I think you start there, but if you have a great idea that's going to change the world, and you think, wait, there's nobody out there like me, I think I'm going to do this. I would research maybe mentors that are Latinas that are in technology, reach out to them and say, hey, I'm going to launch this company. What do you think? Am I drinking Kool-Aid? Am I crazy? Just validate yourself and just get a team of people that you feel comfortable to help you. And I think that's where you start.
Can I just say something very quick? You know, from a corporate perspective, corporate America needs you. You know, I'm responsible for mobility services for Cisco, for desktop support, for e-apps, all the applications for Cisco on your iPhone. So we need ideas, right? So we will be looking to you to come with these companies and pitch us your idea and tell us how can my business be better. But in the other side, like you say, okay, maybe I don't want to be an entrepreneur anymore, I want to join a business. We need your ideas still. So don't think that one goes without the other. I think that if you have entrepreneurship, for me, it's out here. So if you have it, take advantage of it, and you'll be successful anywhere you go.
Yes. And I think before we go to questions and answers, I want to just have a moment for each of you to say, either if it's talking to a young person or your younger self or whatever advice or wisdom words that you want to give out, that or something that you want to touch on for this topic before we break out into questions and answers, and sort of like your final recipe for advancing Latina innovation, which is the topic of this important discussion.
I think for me, what I would tell younger people or just anybody is to just follow your own interests and not like, you know, I know entrepreneurship is big right now, but I think if you're really interested in a certain area, that could lead to entrepreneurship, right? And sometimes, you know, at different ages, you don't know what you want to do, but just knowing that you have so many options, and I think if you really just pursue just something that you're interested in, you know, if it's, you know, just different fields, then it could lead to entrepreneurship.
So two things, and I know that I have a few friends here that probably know what I'm going to say, but for the younger self, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. So I think that in my career, I spent, and I have a 20-year career. Don't calculate my age. Yeah. But I think that I spent way too much time at the beginning of my career trying to be somebody else I wasn't, trying to fit a mold, trying to fit what this company wanted me to be. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. I'm very proud to be Latina. I'm very proud to bring all the Latinaness in front every time, and that's what you have to bring. Now, the second one for innovation, network. There's a very quick assignment, 3 ways that you can be a great networker. You have to know masters. Those are the very, very intelligent architect people that will know everything, masters. Second one, connectors. Connectors know a lot of people. So if they don't know what you're looking for, they will know somebody that will know somebody that will get you what you need. And the third one are the influencers. Those are the salespeople. Those are the people that can sell and can influence anybody to get you whatever you want. And that's money. So make sure that in your network list, you have masters, you have connectors, and you have influencers.
That's good. I think I would say, if you have a dream, always start for the dream. Reach for the moon. If you don't get to the moon, you get a star.
Get it to us. Yeah, that's right.
Find the right people to be around you. Your family is most important. Your health. Always stay healthy. Never lose of that sight, because if you're not healthy, you're not going to do anything. And also be true to yourself. I think if you really believe in yourself, no matter what happens, always stay true to yourself. Educate yourself as much as you can. Learn how to code. Pick up a book and code it yourself. That's the best advice I think I could give.
Yeah, I would say, actually, I was thinking about be true to yourself and who you really are. But that's also because women, we are mothers as well. And sometimes we have to overcome that, not a barrier. I mean, of course, it's the most beautiful thing. But many people have these stereotypes that moms couldn't be hard workers as men in the corporate world or even in entrepreneurship. I was just telling my story yesterday to Andrea that many people thought in my first company when I got pregnant, that was the end of the company, you know, because I was all by myself and pregnant. So that was like, that's not possible. You won't be able to do it. So, and I always say, and again, be true to yourself and who you really are, in the sense that many people will come with judgments of things you are doing. And this is where your strength comes of saying, I don't really care what you think about myself. I'm being honest to who I am. And in my case, I say, I love my son. Now I have 2 kids. I love my kids. But I know I have my passions and my drives. And I wouldn't be happy if I'm just a mom. And many people will criticize that, that you don't spend probably as much time at home, or when they are newborns, that you are not 100 or 200% on the diapers. Maybe you are in the diapers 10% and 90% of your head is thinking about the meeting that you will have next week, And this is being true to yourself. And many people will judge that, particularly women. From the other side, there is this war of what is best. And again, I think you have to be, be true to yourself and have the strength of, fight for what you are aiming for, your dreams and your passions.
And I would just emphasize, don't be afraid to ask. I think sometimes we just, self-limit that part. Keep asking. The worst you're going to get is a no, and you'll find somebody else. Don't be afraid to fail. That's the best way to learn. You will get amazing, valuable lessons from that part. And just believing in yourself is huge, even though maybe sometimes your family might not even believe in you. Just make sure that you just have internally that you can achieve anything you want. I remember even as I kept climbing on my corporate career, my family would be like, yeah, your brother is doing this or that. And it was until I, got invited to speak in Japan that my mom went like, okay, never mind. I think you're doing something. So it's, don't be afraid. Actually, even if your family might not even support your times, just don't let that internal voice, that fire, be extinguished. It's there. Let it fly. Let it show. Oh.
So we should open it for questions, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Giovanni. Thank you for being part of the panel. My question is relevant to young kids. I have a sister that's 15. I have a daughter that's 18 months. And one of my toughest and I'm the oldest of 5. One of my toughest challenges is helping them get motivated themselves. And not only for them, but also mentees that I have, is if they're not motivated, then nothing you say will make them do amazing things. So how do you help people get motivated? And not specifically young kids. Is that possible? And I know this is a very long discussion, but it talks about helping younger kids. So.
Would be good for that. For me, of course, I believe it's possible. Right? I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, right? And I think, we start with younger girls, and we don't just hand out flyers like join our program. Yeah. One, they don't know what DIY is, making, engineering, tech, all these terms, join our entrepreneurship program. We would get no one to join, right? So all this jargon that we use doesn't work with younger kids. They don't think it's important. So we change our messaging. We give them a hands-on experience so that they choose to join, right? Instead of us saying this is important because tech entrepreneurship is the latest thing or is important for you, it's like we want them to choose it. And so I think when you're, like the messages that we do for adults are not the same that you would do for kids. They're not mini adults, right? And if you think of that, then you have to change things that appeal to them. And sometimes they seem dumb to you as an adult, right? Or some of the reasons that sometimes girls leave our program, it's because, well, they don't like the girl that's in it, and it's just like middle school things, right? But that's important. Then we stop and we try to deal with those issues, even though we're like, well, that's a dumb reason for not being in this program. But for them, it's the reason they're not in the program. Mm-hmm. So stop thinking of them as adults and saying, this is important for your future and all those same messages that teachers and administrators do. Let them be interested and follow you. And I think that's what we try to do.
So I love a lot of what you shared, but I'm left with one big inquiry, the elephant in the room, I think, if you will, and that is the structural challenges which exist, which I think is exhibited by the recent numbers that we just saw as it relates to Google, Twitter, Yahoo, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of them. 3% at worst, 4% at best of Hispanics. That's not even looking at how that ranks across the company as a whole, so that's not even looking at executive level vis-a-vis entry level, and it's also not looking at Latino versus Latina. So huge opportunity, and I just would love to hear more conversation around that, and I think it's great that Google is supporting this. I think it's fantastic, but what about actually supporting, changing those numbers, so when we come back here next year, we're from 3% to the 30+% which exists in the state of California.
Yeah. If I can quickly say a couple of words on that, actually, I was inquiring, internally because those numbers, are pretty shocking. And, when talking to our, talent acquisition, they're telling me it's challenging actually when they're looking out there to find candidates. So we have to go a little bit, like deep down, kind of encourage from early age, kind of get into middle school, high school, how to create that interaction so that, students get, inspired that, okay, I can work in technology because, recruiters are trying to get there. And sometimes the limitation is that the pool is not there. It's like applicants are not even coming. So I think the connection for us is to go a little bit into reaching out to the younger, just to go into high school, middle school, and get that connection going. But totally there.
I just want to, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to add, that there is no excuse for that, right? Yeah. I think that we are, corporate America is probably at fault in a lot of that. But I do believe that it needs to start with the ones that are also there. I'm actually the highest ranked Latina in IT in Cisco. That's not, it's great, thank you. But it's horrible, right? How can a company with 60,000 employees, almost 3,000 in the San Jose Bay Area, 10,000 IT, and I'm the only ranked Latina, right? So I think that we're doing now, there has to be programs that target the kids and target them and show them, and we all have those programs. I think, but again, as I told you before, I think that we sometimes run out of ideas. We have a lot of things to do, and I think that we need community, politicians, corporations to work together on that. And sometimes I think that it's easy to say, that's your problem, go and do it. But I think that we need help, to be honest.
I want to continue the conversation. I'm at Ketty E on Twitter, and I hope that companies engage in this conversation. Yeah. And I hear what you're talking about as it relates to the pipeline and beginning the pipeline. And I'm on the board for Yes We Code, and so I'm totally about that, and I agree with it and support it. However, we need change tomorrow. And as was said earlier, companies aren't just technology companies. You could have people who are in leadership, who are in diversity, who are in marketing, who are in communications. There's a lot of companies that are poaching companies that are C2B, B2B, like Procter & Gamble, some of the best marketing people. Why aren't they coming here? And Latinos.
You're absolutely right.
Oh. Yeah. They are here. I also want to add one thing, and that is a conference like this where we're having people from the White House, when we're having top people from corporate America, where we're having top entrepreneurs, where we're having academics. This is we're having people from the media, where this is exactly the type of discussion that was lacking, that needed to happen for this to be a tipping point. So I think the question is very pertinent, Katie. I don't know where you went, but it's very pertinent, and I think it's a question that is going to make the whole country burn, and that's why we thought this panel was so damn important.
Thanks. Hi, Georgina Miranda. Thank you guys for being here. So this is more an entrepreneurship question. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm raising capital for my startup. I am pure business background. I don't have a tech co-founder. And that has been an issue, a very frustrating one, because I have my whole technology piece sorted. I just don't have this other little person that's attached to me. So my conversation has become more and more candid with investors, because at first it was, who's your tech co-founder? And it turned into, so who's my male co-founder? I don't have one. And I don't need one. I have this awesome team in New York that's going to build everything for me. And guess what? It's great. They're going to do it for $15,000 versus this person I'd have to give half my company away to or pay them some ridiculous amount of money. So any advice on overcoming that challenge? Because I'm like, do I get this awesome person on my board as an advisor? If you guys have any ideas, I would love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we have those questions all the time. So many people, so many Latinas. I'm so proud of you, first of all. We do. That's why Manos is what we're doing. Why don't you see me after, and we could talk on the side. Thank you. I have a lot of ideas and a lot of developers that are looking for people like you.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I will give you an insight as well. As I say, in the group also, many women are looking for the tech co-founders. And of course, the investors will ask not just for your co-founder, but not just because, I mean, you are saying you can outsource the development, and that's pretty easy. Yeah. But the team is something that you need to really make the company grow, defining strategy. So if they are looking for your co-founder, it's because they know you won't be able in the long term to succeed by yourself. I mean, it's not that you won't be able, but matching the skills. Now, based on my experience, because as I say, there are a lot of people looking for tech co-founders, and there are as many as them. I've seen a few times that some people tend to look for not the developer co-founder, and I've seen many women making that mistake, that having the developer, making them the co-founder, later on didn't work out.
Yeah, of course.
Because they are just developers. Yep. It's not that I have something against them, but it's not the right person to help them, the company grow, It was just the developer. So probably what you need is finding someone with the business acumen and technology expertise, not necessarily being the person that will code the program to be your co-founder.
Right.
That's my take.
Thank you. And we'll chat after. Thanks so much.
Hi, ladies. My name is Brenda Sotelo, and I do social media for a living. And I wanted to know, from your personal experience working in these big companies, how much does social media influence and will continue to influence in the next decade or so marketing for Spanish bilingual speakers in this country?
Okay. So I will tell you that it is super important. We're talking about that. So the way that we talk to our clients is technology. We are all technology, right? Like we are technologists in this sense. Those 10, 15-year-olds are going to be my employees and my customers in 15 years. So social media, it is the most important thing. And also because the users want to work for Cisco in the same way that they are working in their home. So all those trends are coming to us, and it's going to be absolutely important. And yes, we cannot develop products if we don't have a diverse workforce. So because we're a global company, so we have to target our products and services to all of them. So answer your question is super important. Now, if you ask me, like, how we go from here to there, that's what we need, people like you that will help us, just help us understand how we go all the way to the other side.
Yeah, I was asking because I'm looking to start my own business in the next couple of years, but in the moment I'm getting the experience in the field, so I just want to make sure that I'm going into the right field.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, for us, we offer a platform. I mean, as Eve, we empower entrepreneurs to start, and social media can make you or break you at times. So,
Absolutely.
And with the bilingual piece, you're even tapping a much bigger market. It's not just limited here, but it's like once you start here, families can spread the word. I mean, things are so interconnected. So. Yep.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Ana Luz. I'm an earthquake engineer by training, but I'm also a CEO of I'm creating a new type of renewable energy based out of getting energies from vibrations, so applying my knowledge in earthquake engineering to technology.
Wow.
And I'm asking...
Yeah.
So I'm coming to you with, I had this idea since I was a freshman in undergrad a long time ago, but I didn't know I could be an entrepreneur until like many years later. Actually, recently is when I started working officially on this a few months ago. And I think part of it is because, being an engineer, I wasn't really told that you could be an entrepreneur. I was more just like, you just learn the technical stuff, you go work for a big company, and that's what you do. So I'm wondering what you guys do. Part of raising the numbers in entrepreneurial, I think, is just bringing awareness to the people that they can be entrepreneurs. Just as I didn't know I could be an engineer until I was well in college, and then I started doing it. So I didn't know I could be an entrepreneur until many years later, and I'm doing it now. So now, what are we doing? How are you ladies seeing that we can sort of raise the numbers by? Are you recruiting? Are you going to universities? Are you reaching out that there's there's obviously a small percentage of Latinos in technology, in science, and STEM fields, but are you reaching out to them to bring up what entrepreneurship is? Because this is not part of this is not part of the curriculum at universities.
Yeah. Maybe, can I answer that? Right now, Manos is partnering up with the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, the national organization in this country, which is, we're everywhere, all the universities, colleges, and we're partnering with them, and we're running entrepreneur tracks. So we're going to be going to different cities in the United States and talking to the engineers, students, and telling them about entrepreneurship, what they have to be prepared to do. So if they want to be an entrepreneur, what does it take to be one? And Ed Avila is here, our CEO, and he's going to be at the Detroit National Conference for SHIP. And then we're also going to be talking to Nishimba, the Society of Hispanic MBAs. So that's what we're going to be doing. Hopefully that would impact it.
And I want to add, because I work at a university, and for example, I am experiencing that in Denver right now, for example, CU Denver, not Boulder, but more where there's more Hispanics, they're really trying to get very into the community and entrepreneurship. So I think that you will see that universities internally understand that that's part of what motivates young people. And if they're going to attract young people, and most 30% of them are Latinos, to the universities, they have to really focus on entrepreneurship. And I think it's a very, very, very good question. I think our families, the Latino families, are more conservative in the career tracks, and we don't maybe have so many examples of entrepreneurs that have succeeded and made it big. And that may be a factor. You know, we don't hear about that, and if we say we're entrepreneurs, they might think we're crazy.
I mean, yes, that's what they used to tell me, because I wanted to get energy from earthquakes, and they're like, "You're crazy."
We're all crazy. Don't worry about it.
So yeah,
we've been
getting
there.
past that. Thank you.
Crazy is good.
Hi, my name is Alana Peralta. I'm a healthcare IT consultant for Capgemini, and I'm a mother of a 9-month-old baby. And I have 2 questions. How do you deal with attacks from a male-dominating field where they constantly question you? How do you manage being a mom and a professional? And when are you going to take time to tend to your child and not go to a conference like I was asked yesterday? And second question is, when I do lean in, sit at the table, and give a suggestion how to improve a process, why are you acting white? Yeah. 2 questions I have encountered in my company from teammates. How do you deal with that attack? And how do you somehow present a workshop where I can change that mentality?
In acting white, I just want to be very, very clear.
Yeah, can you repeat that?
Yeah, what is acting white?
I constantly ask, what do you mean I'm acting white? And they, you don't look like you're from the Bronx.
Okay.
Or you don't act like you're from the Bronx. It's a constant question, always.
So you've been more too aggressive, or you've been too passive?
Yeah.
Maybe you should change content.
Actually, that's a good point.
I'm the only Latina in the healthcare practice, and my goal is to become VP and make it grow and kind of leave an impact. So I'm not leaving. I'm gonna make them change their train of. So how do, besides HR, how is an approachable way, or how can I address that issue and kind of open up that discussion?
So I think we'll take this question, and then we'll have to end it here because we have limited time and we need to wrap this up. So sorry about that, but let's finish this question.
So I'm going to start with the mother thing. You know, I have a 14-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I actually started at Cisco when I was pregnant with the second one. Okay. And so I will say, you know, sometimes we are the worst at managing that perception at work. Because what I used to do, and I will tell you by personal experience, whenever I have to go to my son or my daughter at that point, when my daughter appointment, I will send an email and say, I'm going to go to the doctor to take my daughter. I'll be back in about 2 hours. And then when I have to leave early, I'm sorry, my daughter is sick. I have to go and tend my daughter. They don't need explanation, right? So I think that what you're creating and what I was creating was that being a mom, it was the utmost important thing in my life, and it is. but they don't need to know that, right? So and now what I do, I'm going to be out at 10. I'll be back at 12. If you need me, call my cell phone, period. So I think that you have to start. So I think that for me, I need to start managing that. And one of the ways that I managed that, for sure, was changing companies too. At one point, you create this perception and maybe hard to change or not, but you find new opportunities and you move on. And I think on the second one, it's a little bit tough to answer, but I will say there's so much that you can fight. And I will agree with my panelists in here. Sometimes you don't need to change. It's the company that has to. And if the company's not ready to, you have to switch.
I think that when you find yourself in a position where you're always speaking up and you're fighting, that maybe it's time to start your own. That's how I knew, because I was working in different places and they're not doing it this way, and I was always that person. And then I realized, oh, then it's time for me, because if I have all of these ideas to start how girls should work in tech and be educated, then I should step up and lead it. So, I mean, sometimes I feel like it's a sign for you internally to that means I'm supposed to go somewhere else and do something different. But I know that's not a solution for the current situation. Right. But I in my own personal experience, that's how I have felt.
Let's talk more. I think that we're...
Okay, I think we're going to continue this incredible discussion. And I think also some of the things that came up, and I'm so sorry, but we need to close this, that some of the things that came up are policy prescriptions for the future. And so I encourage whoever is here from the White House maybe to talk to Angelica and to this group about the things that we came up with in our discussion. Might be helpful to you in your policies. But thank you so much. And please, everyone that had questions, come and talk to the panelists at lunch or during the break. And see you soon.
Do we take these off or we go take them? Let's go.
That was powerful. That was powerful. Thank you very much to the panel and Andrea for an amazing job in a very enlightening discussion. I want to mention that one of the things that's going to happen, that's going to occur from this panel, is that we're planning to write a white paper based on this conversation so that we can share this with all the different communities and voices and leaders and government, so that we can have in writing some of the insightful things that we have discussed today. And we will continue to write this over the next few months, but I just want to let you know that sometimes just putting together a conference and going home is not enough. We need to take this conversation and amplify it out there for those who actually have a lot of power and can make those changes. So I encourage you also to do the same with your organizations. If you see people and they come to your organization to talk, you have to amplify that information. Amplify it, write it down, blog about it, like Francis mentioned earlier. We have to put this out there, okay? Because we have amazing leaders. So we're going to move on to our second morning keynote speaker. I have the immense pleasure of introducing to you Alejandra Castillo. Alejandra Castillo's presentation will serve as a prelude to our second plenary session, which focuses on pitching and fundraising for entrepreneurs. In 2014, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce appointed Alejandra Castillo to serve as the National Director of the Minority Business Development Agency. Ms. Castillo is the first Hispanic American and second woman to lead the agency since its creation. In this capacity, Ms. Castillo directs the agency's strategic efforts to enhance the growth and global competitiveness, I need my glasses, I'm sorry, of minority business enterprises. Under Ms. Castillo's leadership, the agency has expanded its effort to help minority business enterprises grow and succeed through access to capital, access to contract, and access to business opportunities both domestically and abroad. Prior to assuming this role, she served as the National Deputy Director, managing the agency's day-to-day operations and its national network of 44 business centers. I would like for us to keep our voices down a little bit. A practicing attorney for several years, Ms. Castillo has worked in the private, government, and nonprofit sector. Prior to joining the Obama administration, Ms. Castillo served as the executive director of the Hispanic National Bar Association, headquartered in Washington, D.C. A native of New York, Ms. Castillo holds a bachelor's degree of arts from the State University of New York at Stony Brook in economics and political science. Ms. Castillo holds a master's degree in public policy from the Lyndon Baines Johnson School of Public Affairs, University of Texas at Austin, and also holds a Juris Doctorate degree from American University, Washington College of Law. In 2010, Hispanic Business Magazine recognized Ms. Castillo among the top 100 influential Latinos in the United States, and she received the 2010 Rising Star Award by the Hispanic Bar Association of the District of Columbia. Please help me welcome my friend, Alejandra Castillo. Alejandra? Okay, by the way.
Felicidades. Muy buenos días. Ok, vamos a pararnos, a tomar un momento para que se paren, porque sé que muchos de ustedes han estado bien atentas hoy. So just, shake it off a little bit, because we're going to have a wonderful and interesting conversation. Stretch a little bit. And take your seats now. Do again. So here's a couple of things, okay? This is a conversation. This is a dialogue that begins today but will not end today. This is a dialogue that we're going to continue, because we really need to make sure that we make some important inroads in this field. So let me read you a quote. If your dreams don't scare you, then you're not dreaming big enough, right? How many of you are scared? Excellent. Wow. True testament that you're dreaming big. That's important, because it's often that we have these wonderful ideas, and there's always someone, un tío, una tía, que te dice, what are you thinking, right? But then you have another tía or another tío who says, wow, that's brilliant, right? So in Spanish, we usually say, dime con quién anda y te diré quién eres, right? The fact that you're here today, the fact that you're surrounding yourself today with these amazing Latinas in this wonderful Google campus, that means that your destiny is on its way. That means that you are going to succeed. So congratulate you. So Alan Lakin said, planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it. Let me say that again. Planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. That's what we're doing today. We're planning. We are making sure that we build the roads to success. And I'm going to take a minute to acknowledge a couple of people, because this is about making sure that you don't feel alone. So Edward Avila, who I think you're going to be hearing about right after, throughout the afternoon, from Manos Accelerator, is doing a great job. They are creating the ecosystem for entrepreneurship and innovation for Latinos. And that ecosystem is critical. When we talk about ecosystem, it's this big concept. What does that mean? What is the ecosystem? What are the ingredients of the ecosystem? And I come to you as part of the federal government. And I know that sometimes people see the federal government as perhaps an impediment. But let me tell you something. I invite you to learn more about what government does. As Francis Colon said, as policymakers, we are part of that ecosystem. And sometimes people forget that the federal government, in many ways, has planted the seed for many of the innovations that you enjoy today. How do they do that? Has anyone visited a national lab? Show of hands. I would expect that in this audience, everyone would be raising their hands. Why? Because you have two amazing national labs just a rock throw away. Does anybody know which national labs I'm talking about? So Lawrence Livermore? And well, Sandia's in Albuquerque, not too far, and Berkeley, right? But you have Sandia, you have Los Alamos, you have Argonne National Lab, you have Brookhaven National Lab. These are great incubators of research and development. So when I was asked to talk about this on this panel, what are the opportunities that the government provides? You know, sometimes it's hard to navigate those opportunities. Sometimes we look at them and we want a magic wand to just hopefully give us the money to continue our research or our innovation. It's not as simple, but it's not impossible. So if you have a company that has an educational component to the business model, I'll encourage you to go to grants.gov. Grants.gov. On grants.gov, you're going to see a deluge of opportunities. And these are the opportunities that I would invite you, if they don't apply to you, share them. Make sure that somebody in your network is leveraging them. There's also a lot of research grants. Research grants that you have to look into, whether it's, again, national labs or the National Institute of Standards and Technology. There's also a lot of grants through NIH, grants through the National Science Foundation. All of these are federal agencies that support STEM. Again, I'm not suggesting they're easy to find or to get, but unless you try, these grants will not go to you. So we're trying to make sure that we educate folks, particularly in the minority business community, on how to best leverage that. And I'm happy to say that on November 4th, in collaboration with the National Institute of Standards and Technology, MBDA will host a symposium for minority-serving institutions. We're going to bring 3 representatives of every MSI, minority-serving institution, to be able to look at what's happening in these national labs, to be able to look at what's happening in the nanotechnology parks that they have, to be able to understand how do you bring forth your ideas, how do you get that grant to take the original concepts and really apply them. There's a big movement in the federal government in terms of tech transfer, or what we call lab to market. And this is the role that you play. Because I always believe that as Latinos, if in fact the saying goes that necessity is the mother of invention, then we're all innovators. And I want to make sure that you understand that, because as Francis said, and there are some other folks in the federal government who will be here with you today, Alejandra Cejas is one of them, my friend Katina Rojas Joy, who is a former colleague. We have been, for example, I've been in DC for 22 years, and I'm always amazed that, as Francis said, our voices are not heard when it comes to STEM. We can be bombarded by all the statistics about dropout rate and poverty. These are all real. But I'm going to invite you to defy the statistics. The fact that you're here, the fact that Angelica put this wonderful panel together, is a beginning to defy the statistics. Let me tell you very briefly. I have the privilege to work for the US Department of Commerce under the leadership of an entrepreneur, Penny Pritzker, who has begun a wonderful journey as our secretary, talking about open for business. And many of you may not know exactly what commerce does, so let me give you a brief primer. You get your weather from commerce, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Talk about a lot of research and STEM opportunities there. You also get your time. So the time that your cell phones uses is managed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. How many students are in the room? Show of hands. Wonderful. I know that you're writing great research papers. If you ever write a research paper, I can assure you that you are citing census data. That census data comes from the US Department of Commerce. Why is that census data so important? Particularly for business? Because you need to know where your customers are, right? So as entrepreneurs, the census data is not just numbers and maps. It tells you where your clients are, and more importantly, where they're likely to be. So as you look at your ideas, make sure that you consult the census data, because I'm telling you, Google does. So you need to make sure that you're leveraging the same tools that the big companies are. We are also the International Trade Administration. We know that minority-owned companies are twice as likely to export. As entrepreneurs, you need to understand that 95 of the world's consumers live outside of the US borders. The fact that you speak Spanish, the fact that you are Latinos, the fact that you understand the business culture of Colombia, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, positions you in a very unique place to be able to tap into those markets. So when you're looking at your entrepreneurial ideas, think about how do you go global. The other thing that we are is we are the Economic Development Agency. We help states and cities in their infrastructural development, in their public works. So commerce does a lot of different things. And again, I'm here to tell you that there's a gap of knowledge between Latinos and what the federal government can do for them. I'm going to echo Francis because, we have Cynthia had a question earlier today about how do you access. It takes the sisterhood. In DC, we have a wonderful sisterhood of individuals who are in the public policy arena. And I'm glad to see that Alejandra Cejas is going to be talking to you later. And we exchange information, we exchange tips, we exchange ideas of how can we, in the public space, create policies that can build that ecosystem that I mentioned before. Because let me tell you, we're newcomers. We are newcomers to this space, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't learn how the game is played. That only means that your learning curve is going to be, needs to be faster. So one of the things that I want to leave you with, the Minority Business Development Agency was created 45 years ago. We are celebrating our 45th anniversary this year, and we are changing the way business is done in the US because the demographics are forcing us to change. Latino-owned businesses, 2.3 million of them, are growing. Latina-owned businesses are the fastest growing. So the challenge is this. It's not just to start the business. It's to be able to look at your business and say, how am I going to grow it? Because by growing it, you do two critical things. One, you create jobs. And we all know that our communities need jobs. Two, we create wealth. And this is a big passion of mine. We need to start to change the way we look at business, the way we look at money. It is about wealth creation. How many of you have seen a business very successful? 5 years later, you go back to that business and the business is no longer there? Show of hands. Why is that? Part of it is failure to do succession planning, right? A lot of great businesses, the owner now 40 years into the business and they're thinking of what's next. And they think that maybe the daughter or the son wants to take over the business. Guess what? They want to go to Hollywood and be a Hollywood producer. Yeah, so what happens to that business? It dies. If you're going to build wealth in the United States of America, you need to look at it from a long-term perspective. You need to look at it from a generational perspective. How do you pass it on? How do you sell it? How do you acquire more businesses? And the issue of finance is critical. I know that there's a robust panel right after me, so I'm not going to steal their thunder. But there are a lot of different ways. I was just speaking to Carol in the back about angel investors. We need to talk about not just debt financing, but equity financing. Many of you may think of business as an adventure. It's also an opportunity to learn multiple disciplines. I'm a lawyer. I went to law school. They never taught me anything about business. Guess what? When the recession hit, if you were at a law firm and you couldn't generate business, you were the first one out. So I'm always encouraging people, regardless of your professional background, think about the tools that you need to learn about business. And those tools are out there. The Small Business Administration, which is now head by another fabulous Latina, Maria Contreras-Sweet from California, has a lot of amazing webinars, information to share. If you need resources, you should go to one of the small business offices. If you also need technical assistance, come to MBDA. We have 3 centers here in the Bay Area. 3 centers. There is no excuse to say, I don't know how to grow my business. We are here to help. We are here to encourage you to think about STEM, to be passionate about it, but to also think about it wisely as a business owner. Thank you so much for this time. I do want to tell you something, and I want to quote yet again Mark Twain in this part. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sail, explore, dream, and discover. That's my challenge to you, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. That was beautiful. That was incredibly inspiring and informative, and has set us up actually quite well for our next discussion and panel titled Funding Latina Innovation and Startups. Pitching, Funding, and Scaling Up. The second plenary will be moderated by Katina Rojas Joy. Katina is a champion of health and global business development. We can clap early. With over 2 decades of experience in life sciences, public policy, and advocacy. Her mission is to equalize access to health care and be an advocate for adults living with chronic disease. Currently, Katina serves as the Prince George's County Commissioner on the Maryland's Governor Commission on Hispanic Affairs. Previously, Katina served as a political appointee in the Obama administration. She was the Deputy Director in the Office of the Secretary at the U.S. Department of Commerce, Office of Business Liaison, the first Latina to hold that position. She also served as a member of the Entrepreneurship Working Group at the Clinton Global Initiative and has participated and witnessed hundreds of seed stage companies and entrepreneurs pitch to their friends, families, colleagues, and even Warren Buffett. Katina and distinguished panelists, I invite you to the stage.
Hi. Oh, come on. Hi.
Yeah.
It's either me and then at lunch. So when Angelica Perez was up here, her mic didn't capture it, but as Alejandra Castillo was coming up, Angelica said she was also Dominican. So as a New York Puerto Rican, it doesn't get any better than that. So this is about money. How many of you were comfortable talking about money growing up? Raise your hand. How many of your abuelas were comfortable talking to you about money? Okay. Well, the thing about Latinos is that we might not have access and didn't grow up with sort of high net worth families, but we knew informal. Anybody here knew what a susu was? So I used to work at a hospital, and most of them were Filipino Latino, and there was an informal loan system called a susu, where if you needed a loan, you would pick a number, and you hoped you got number 1, because you got the money right away and you paid back. So fast forward, we're all entrepreneurs, we want to build businesses, and to Alejandra Castillo's point, I have heard time and time again, I don't know anything about business. I have this great idea, I'm creative, I invented this, but I don't know what a balance sheet looks like. I don't know scalability. I don't know what a profit margin is. So my aim with this panel is to talk a little bit about VC, venture capital. Does anybody here know what a VC does or what a VC looks like? Good. Angel investing, not too much access to capital, but you're going to walk away understanding what a VC looks like if you want to be a VC and how to fund your startup, your idea, and really talk a little bit about what it looks like to be a high net worth Latina. All right, so I am going to come around. Oh, thank you. I spend my money wisely. I shop at Target, though. Okay. So you have all of their bios. So we all met for dinner last night, thanks to Angelica. So I have like an abbreviated version of their bios. So to my far left, dubbed the Coach by Marie Claire, Natalia is founder and CEO of Pipeline Fellowship, an angel investing boot camp for women. Natalia is a frequent speaker on angel investing, impact investing, women entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurship, as well as a topic she's very much passionate about as an LGBTQ Latina, diversity. She has a BA in comparative lit and economics from Yale, and her Twitter handle is Nakis Nakis.
Hi, everyone.
So if you're Puerto Rican, you know what Chulis Nakis means. Carol is a, hold on. Let me get this right. They prepped me last night. Carol is a burner. Raise your hand if you know what a burner is. Carol's been to Burning Man 6 times. I have not. Carol received a BA, a business administration from the University of Iowa, and she's an instructor at Stanford. In the middle, Laura, a graduate of Berkeley, was recently named by Glamour magazine 35 women under 35 who are changing the tech industry.
That was a great one. Yeah.
She is also an avid hiker. Okay, so we're going to start. I'm going to throw questions out. We are going to stay on time. And during the Q&A, I ask that you just ask us the question. And we are available to meet with you after if we run out of time. So the first one will go out to Natalia. We are on the live stream. I told you, I warned you about it. Okay. How can we attract more women, in particular Latinas, to the world of investing/impact investing? And what's keeping them away?
Yeah. Well, hi, everyone. As Katina mentioned, I'm Natalia Bertinoguera, Nakis Nakis on Twitter. I have seen actually a lot of people live tweeting. Remember, the hashtag is Latinas Think Big. And we do big as well. And my hope is that after today, we'll be investing big, too. So just to get, so that we're all on the same page, I launched Pipeline Fellowship because there are enough white guys investing in other white guys. It's like, I was like, mic drop. No. So to give you a sense on what inspired me to launch Pipeline Fellowship and actually what keeps me going is just comments that have been made. There was one that, and you probably all know him, so I'll just refer to him on a first name basis, Paul. I'll make it easy. Paul Graham, a few years ago, he was interviewed at a TechCrunch Disrupt event, and he was asked, what do you look for when you're investing? And he said, someone like me. And I'm really glad he said it aloud because a lot of people are thinking it, they're just not saying it. And so in that respect, you know, there's a really sterile term that gets thrown around, pattern recognition. And it simply is, you know, that we feel okay with what's familiar. You know, hey, how many white Latinas are in the room? There are a lot, right? And we're excited about being here together. And so my take was there are a lot of interesting organizations doing great work making the obvious business case of diversity, such as, and individuals such as Angelica. With today, we have Catalyst, we have the Level Playing Field Institute. I decided to take the pattern recognition and turn it on its head and say, if we are more comfortable with what's familiar, let's get more women and people of color on the investing side because we're probably going to be more comfortable investing in ourselves, in women and people of color entrepreneurs. In her opening remarks, Katina, you mentioned, like, what does an investor look like? So when our graduates, they, you know, when our fellows graduate from the program. And how many of you have watched Shark Tank? Okay, so what I do is I get more women and people of color sharks out there. So that's what I'm up to. And we give them this shirt, which I thought was very powerful given your question, which says, we're changing the face of angel investing. So I'd say, to throw it back to the panel, a lot of times the conversation is, why aren't we there? I would leave it with, we're not being seen. And the other aspect is, Marie Wilson from the White House Project, she says, you can't be what you can't see. So we need more of these spotlighting opportunities where we have angel investors such as Carol who can talk about, hey, I've done it, I'm doing it, and you can join us as well.
So Carol, can you please define what a venture capitalist is? And within that, to those young women that are in college or in grad school or mid-career, what core skills? So if you're in college, what courses should you be taking? And if you're a mid-career professional interested in pivoting and becoming a VC, what do you have to do? So first define it, and then what skills are required?
So I'm Carol Sands, and I'm the founder of two organizations. They're sister organizations, actually. One is called the Angels Forum, and that is a group of angel investors, which means they are investing their own personal money. I'm also the founder and the managing general partner of the Halo Funds, which is a venture capital firm, which means I invest other people's money.
Yeah.
And so it's unusual for a venture capitalist to have the two organizations, but the counter to that unusualness is that in the venture community we keep track of who ranks highest, and the ranking is in terms of return on capital. We're a small fund, but we're one of the highest ranking in the nation.
That is awesome.
So it isn't how much money you're using, it's how well you use it. And so part of our secret sauce is that we're investing in the part that the traditional venture community isn't even looking at. And so when people are talking about, what kind of entrepreneurs do you invest in? More than 75% of our portfolio companies have a woman in the management and or the founding team. Why does that happen? Hello? Entrepreneurs turn around and look for people who look like them. And so I want to put a shout out right now. Part of the reason why I was so adamant about being on this panel is that I am actively looking for a Latina angel investor to join our group. I have been scouring Silicon Valley and I cannot find one.
So hold on, because she might be here.
I'm hoping.
It's not me. Yeah. But I'm sure she's here, and this is going to be Angelica's outcome, because Angelica is going to prove matchmaking, interviews, jobs offered, and more importantly, every function, every job, there has to be some sort of entrance exam, entrance assessment. So that'll be part of the outcome. So you're looking for an angel investor who happens to be Latina.
Yes.
What does she have to come to the table with? Does she have to go to Berkeley or Stanford?
Nope.
Does she have to have a $500,000 net worth?
Hopefully a lot more than that.
Okay, should she be 25 or 55?
So the formula that I'm looking for is that the Angels Forum invests both time and money. So in order to do that, that means that you had to be a successful entrepreneur. You need to be able to look at any of the entrepreneurs that you're working with and say, yes, I do understand. Yes, I have been there before, and this is what I've learned. Because here's the bottom line. I invest in incredibly smart people. If they hit a problem, they will solve it. The question is, how long does it take them to solve it? If it takes them 3 weeks or 3 months, that is delaying the time to market. If by talking to an advisor or an angel investor, I can solve it in 30 minutes, hello, we just got a little bit farther ahead than our competition.
And so just to take a step back, some stats, because I collect not any kind of stat, I collect depressing stats. So in 2013, out of all the US angels, only 19% were women and only 4% were minorities. And in terms of, just to give you a little bit of sense of Pipeline Fellowship's Angel Investing Bootcamp numbers, we actually have, I'm thrilled to say, out of 80 graduates, we have 5 Latinas. So I need to connect you with them, number one, because there are some Latina angels out there. It's just a lot of us might not even realize that this is an opportunity. And the other aspect is, I just wanted to take a step back also in terms of the funding continuum. How many of you are Latina entrepreneurs looking for funding? Okay. So then
I brought a lot of business cards.
So let's just talk. I'm so glad Carol brought up the angel investors. Carol brought up the VCs. I know that one of my favorite wise Latinas is in the room, Nicole Sanchez. She used to work for Caper Capital. So the way that I usually describe it is we usually talk about bootstrapping, then we talk about friends and family round, then we talk about angel investors, then we talk about VCs, et cetera. And so I just want to make sure that we're on the same page. One of the most powerful things I have ever heard someone say is Nicole Sanchez regarding bootstrapping at one of our past conferences, which is an all-day event on angel investing. And she said that bootstrapping is so glamorized in the press, in the media. And she said for a lot of our communities, bootstrapping is simply what we call living, you know? And so let's just get on the same page regarding that. So then in terms of the friends and family, this is the other aspect. A lot of women and people of color entrepreneurs, we don't have the friends and family for the friends and family round. And so that's why we've positioned Pipeline Fellowship as that friend and family for a lot of us who might not have the friends and family for that family round. And what's critical is that a lot of times later stage investors, they're looking for traction. They're looking for like a minimum viable product, the leanest that you can get. And sometimes you need that critical capital injection to get to that next step. So I'm excited that we're having this conversation because a lot of times we don't know about these resources. And being connected to resources, whether it's Pipeline Fellowship, whether it's Carol, you now know that these are potential people that you could be pitching to.
So let me just let me offer her the opportunity, and then I'll come back to you because I want to make sure everyone's voice is heard. So Laura, sort of two-part, and this actually came up last night. You have a 50-year-old Latina. She's what we call the sandwich generation, and she has $500,000. Compare her to a non-Latina. Is she risk-averse? So she's got $500,000. She has no debt. Is she going to go to Carol and say, I'm going to invest my money based on what you know? But no, there's a cultural, there's sort of the cultural fear or the aversion to investing for that particular Latina of that age group.
But there's a legal qualification, and you have to be accredited to do this type of investing.
Well, no, she is. She's not.
No, but okay. So to be an accredited investor, it's just like an arbitrary thing that the U.S. government has decided to do. And my understanding is because guess what? Investing at the end of the day is risky. And so the easiest ones to remember is $1 million net worth. So I believe that's what you were referring to, or $200,000. If you have an income or if you're married, and given that this is after the repeal of DOMA, I don't have to have my PSA about LGBTQ rights, or $300,000 joint income with a spouse. Laura, I love to hear, because we're coming a lot of it from the funding perspective. You are an entrepreneur. I'd love to hear from you in terms of what has it been like to be on the other side?
So let me answer really quick also her question. Even if I do have $500,000, so let's say I do, I was an early employee at Twitter, if you don't know. But let's say I have it, I wouldn't spend it on angel investing, not because I don't want to, but because I'd rather pay out my mom's house, because I'd rather help out my family. I'm not 50, but I will be, not soon enough, but a long time from now. And so for me, that's more important. And so like while I would love to invest and do angel investing, my cultural factor is like my family is my priority. And whether it's my mother, whether I have a family one day. So I think older Latinas that do have that money may not want to take that. They may want to save it para los hijos, para los nietos. And you see these things, like even when people are buying houses, no son para ellos, they're like for the next generation. On the other hand, entrepreneurship, and anyone that here is an entrepreneur, and I don't even know why I'm doing this right now, is the struggle, as Ben Horowitz said. And he is your typical white guy, but I could relate to him on the entrepreneurial level, which is a struggle that you have while you're always asking yourself, what's going on? How do you deal with your own psychology while you have a team or you're building a product? What are the expectations? Every time I was glad I was on Glamour magazine. I'm glad that I'm going to be speaking about diversity next to Jesse Jackson in November with all the executives from Facebook and Twitter. But that means that now I have the pressure to succeed. Am I going to make it? I'm just another entrepreneur. Yesterday I got funding, and it was the greatest, yay. And today another investor pulled out, so there you go. This is entrepreneurship.
So talk a little bit about your fundraising journey. Like what is, are we sort of beholden to cultural stereotypes when it comes to pitching and selling? Are we told that it's just not something that we do?
So I'm so glad that I have such a great supportive network of people from every venture capital firm. People that are angel investors that I could meet with, my own ex-coworkers or people in my network. That is great, but just like everyone investing who they look like, I do not look like any of them. So even though they're my friends and they're supportive and they're giving me feedback about the product and about how to raise money, if I could give myself some feedback from, let's say, three months ago when I started this process, is to have patience. I do not have patience. I do not know how many Latinas do have patience, but I am not one of them. It is a patience.
That's part of the reason why you're so successful. Entrepreneurs are not patient.
Okay. Tell that to my mom.
It's a great quality.
So Carol, why don't you talk a little bit about what are some of the must-dos for Latinas and women in general who are ready to fundraise for their early stage startup?
So I want to go back to one of the points that you made about not having the friends and family and not having the access to necessarily bootleg. I mean, part of the reason why the previous speaker was from the government is that around here we don't access government grants the way that we should be. Yeah. There are so many, and everybody says, oh, they're so hard to get. They're not. And one of the things that is really amazing is if you go to one of the government offices that she suggested that you do, and you simply walk in and say, I want to figure out how to access a government grant to help me build my business, they will practically fill out the paperwork for you.
Well, let me just say this as someone who left the administration 2 months ago. Yes, they're very supportive.
Yes.
And there is money out there. So for example, SBA, Maria Contreras.
I would never go for an SBA.
Okay, but that's your opinion and that's fine.
Yeah.
However, there are many entrepreneurs and small business owners, and SBA just launched an accelerator grant. It was only, depending on your perspective, $60,000. It was not a laborious application, and it was $60,000. So I don't want you all to walk out of here and say, oh, the federal government, I'm going to knock on the door and they're going to help me. There is a reason why many do not do business. It is challenging. There are barriers to entry. And if it was easy to secure 8A, if it was easy to secure government grants, we would all do it. So while Carol is correct, there are a lot of resources that are untapped. There are also challenges to accessing federal, state, and local, just as there is on the private sector side.
Yeah, I did want to bring up, we're talking about how women and people entrepreneurs, we don't get funding. Like, would you agree that we're all on the same page? We've heard that memo. Raise your hands, please. I want to see more energy. Okay. I don't know where the other people are. As long as it's because they didn't raise their hands because they're like, live tweeting, I'm happy. So the other aspect of the conversation is that a lot of women and people of color entrepreneurs were not pitching. And I'll give you 3 reasons why. three main reasons. The first one is very candidly, we're not being invited into the room. Because guess who controls those doors? Straight white guys. Secondly, just in case you were having any doubts. Secondly, and this is, a lot of us might not realize that we have a scalable business model that could benefit from angel or VC financing. And so this is where I get a chance to ask some of you. Something that I notice a lot of times are Latinas, there tend to be a lot of solopreneurs. And what I mean by that is a lot of one-person startups, which if that's what you're interested in doing, that's great. At the same time, Laura mentioned a key word when she was describing her experience, which was team. If you're looking to go out there to scale, to raise, to raise funding, you need to showcase that you get what your strengths are, and you're surrounding yourselves with people who will help you, whether it's employees, whether it's advisors, mentors, who will get you to that next level. And I try to refrain from quoting a lot of white guys, so in a little few minutes, I will quote a woman of color just to balance it out. One of my favorite quotations is from Seth Godin and his book called Tribes. And he talks about how a leader isn't a leader until the first follower. And so if you can't even convince someone to be your employee or to be a part of your founding team, why is someone going to put money in you? So just something to keep there, something to keep in mind right there.
So Laura, I would like to just add to that, so whoever lives here in Silicon Valley, but there's capital everywhere, New York, there's all over the world. There's no borders when it comes to investors. But let's say here in general, we have less than 3% of the capital in Silicon Valley is given to women. So imagine, and less than 1% is given to African Americans or Latinos. So imagine the percentage that's actually given to a Latina. That being said, we met with a VC during the day, my co-founder and I, and he was very candid with us, and he told us, on a gender level, there's a lot of discussion about female entrepreneurs. There was a timepiece about a female entrepreneur feeling uncomfortable around some of the venture capitalists. VCs are not meeting with women after 5 p.m. So where are they going to meet at 7 p.m. when they have the happy hour? With the men. And so we said, race aside, we said Latinas, we say women. So women entrepreneurs, any woman entrepreneur that I've met, I feel like a little bit more solidarity. That being said, my best friend in this whole process that has gone, entrepreneurs are very, very, very supportive of each other. And the one that comes to my mind is Junie, who is a short Asian guy that lives out of St. Louis, that has given me a lot of advice. So although you can look for the solidarity in the Latinas and women, do look for solidarity around entrepreneurs in general. Some of the best advice I've gone, thanks. The best advice I've gone is if you want an introduction to an angel or a VC, go to an entrepreneur that's on their portfolio company. That is, and I've gone every single meeting.
So Laura, just to be provocative, because why not? You mentioned that capital is everywhere. And so actually one of my more tweetable sayings is entrepreneurs are everywhere, capital isn't. Because what I have seen, and actually there was this post written, of course, by a guy a while back, and he was talking about how the Midwest, there's so many entrepreneurs, cropping up, pun intended, in the Midwest. And he was like, but, there's zero, you got it, right? Hashtag language matters. And he was like, but there's no capital. And his solution was one word, move. So I'll tell you something. Some of us are not able to move. For some reason, some of us don't want to move. And so I'm super passionate about activating local capital for women entrepreneurs. We launched Pipeline Fellowship in New York City. We then headed to Boston. We then expanded to the Bay Area. This past spring, we added DC, Chicago. This fall, we added LA, Seattle, Atlanta, and we're going into many more cities this next spring. Why are we going to these places? Yes, we have a few women who email us and they're like, I'm interested in becoming an angel investor. We have many more women entrepreneurs who are probably Googling money, and Pipeline Fellowship comes up. And so what they think is, which is accurate, there are high net worth women or communities. You need to come, you need to convert them so they can start funding our businesses.
I'm going to play the devil advocates here, Natalia. Our investors from yesterday that gave us that term sheet are white guys from Salt Lake City. So I think, and then we're also.
And did you go to Salt Lake?
No, I didn't.
Where did you meet
They
them?
came here.
Also, to clarify, I'm coming from New York City. Silicon Valley is very different for a lot of entrepreneurs than others, than other places. Great example in terms of angel investing, even in terms of culture. There are a lot more serial entrepreneurs turned angels here than, for example, in New York City. In New York City, a lot of angels are coming from financial services. So when you think about the risk profile, what they expect of entrepreneurs is very different.
And
so Carol, if
I
you
want
could
to talk about here.
But you made I thought it was a sort of very provocative point about women who, if they are high net worth, tend to invest in charity or become philanthropic.
Right.
So if you could talk a little bit about that, because I think it's an important distinction.
It's an extension of what she was talking about. When in order to be a good angel investor, you need to approach it as a business. It's a business activity. It's not a hobby. And that means that it takes time and energy. And a lot of women say, I'm done with my business world. I'm going to box that up, put it up on the shelf, and now I'm going to go do some good in the world. And they define good in the world as being only charitable work, except that the bigger impact on the world is helping young entrepreneurs create new and better ways for us to be a global community. And I am very proud of the investments that we made. We're active in life sciences, literally life-saving life sciences. And there are literally tens of thousands of people who are walking on this earth still today because of a technology I invested in. And without my investment, that technology would have never come to the rest of the world.
And to that point about life sciences, this is tech, but Silicon Valley is really the leader in biotech. So because this is pitching to a certain extent, and we have to be comfortable selling, if you don't have a degree in biology, but think that you want a career in life sciences,
please, please, please come.
But I would argue also the commercial viability of a product, let's call it a drug, when that is ready to be commercialized, every drug company or biotech needs a very bullish and savvy sales force. So you might have gotten a degree in physical education or in art history, but you're very assertive and can sell. So the way to enter a life science career or a STEM career is on the commercial side of pharmaceuticals. There are barriers to entry. Every company, Carol, that's not nice. I spent 14 years in pharmaceuticals.
And it's, but it's later stage. It's later stage.
Carol,
they were like this during dinner last night.
We are here to empower. Carol, we're here to empower Latinas. So they want to enter STEM. They want to enter life sciences. And like me, I had no idea how science and math worked. But you know what? I could sell. And I could outsell anyone in this room.
And that's fantastic.
So I learned. So what I'm saying is, so instead of maligning an industry, we should help each other and say, you know what? If you want a good corporate six-figure job, where at 50 or 60, you have a competitive 401k.
Yep.
You're still beholden to the corporate structure.
Yep.
But you can learn and you understand what stage 4 breast cancer is.
Yep.
And you understand that now you have hepatitis, and instead of interferon, you can take an oral and you are cured of hepatitis. And that is another way to enter a highly competitive, high-paying industry.
And do good.
Do very good.
Yep.
Because you'll talk to people who were hospice-bound, took a pill, and now they're playing golf. Woohoo! So please don't poo-poo pharmaceuticals.
So what I was poo-pooing was not pharmaceutical. It was the later stageness of it.
Yes.
No.
So, I mean, it's very possible. My background is political marketing. And from there I went into finance. From there I went into tech. From there, I went into the advertising industry, and today I run a venture fund. What do I know about life sciences? I can tell you exactly what I know about life sciences. I don't need to understand the science, but I do need to know how to move that process.
So talk about that. What skills are required? Economics, statistics, investment banking?
Actually, a lot of it is common sense.
Yeah, but
For
No,
the
seriously.
students, for the students in the room,
mean,
I feel like if I hadn't studied economics or even taken a computer science class, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at. So I do think like you don't. It's not going to just make you if you are a major right now or you're undecided, you're in high school, like try to study something that you're passionate about, but you actually need to go and get those business skills. And those skills I will get you.
And one of my favorite tips for entrepreneurs is, and for a lot of us, we already come equipped with it, which is learn a second language.
Yeah.
Because learning a second language will make you adaptable. You know, and that is actually one of those key skills for an entrepreneur. There were several points that you made which are very interesting, and I want to make sure because there was a lot that got said. The first one is one of my favorite quotations, and it's Vanessa Hurst. She's co-founder of Code Montage. She's at DBNess on Twitter. DB stands for database, because she's a database engineer. She was also in the Glamour 35 under 35 of women in tech industry, and she asked this question, pseudo-rhetorical, which is, shouldn't doing good be the only way to make a profit? And I'll say it again because it's kind of powerful. Shouldn't doing good be the only way to make a profit? And a lot of times, that's really what is really hard to demystify the misperception that doing good equals nonprofit. You know, and I wanted to go back to that because I actually have an LGBTQ heteronormative agenda for it, which is there was a woman social entrepreneur who was trying to secure funding for her for-profit social venture for almost about a year. And she was knocking down on doors, and people were like, not really, thank you, come back. And she finally threw in the towel, and she did what people had been recommending she do since the day one, which was start a sister nonprofit. So she went right back to all those women that she had been asking to invest in her business, and all those women who wouldn't have written her a $5,000 check for the for-profit social venture, an investment in exchange for equity, donated to her nonprofit. So it wasn't necessarily that the money wasn't there. It was just how it was perceived, what they were doing. And this is where I come up with my heteronormative comment, which is a lot of these women were married to guys. And so in that relationship, the philanthropic portfolio was entirely owned by the woman. She could do whatever she wanted with that. As soon as it became about investing in a for-profit, it was a conversation she had to have, she felt, with the husband, in the kitchen table. And so even with respect to that, I challenge you to think, about one of my favorite definitions of angel investing, which is smart money. It's not just the financial capital, it's also the human and social capital you can provide. Human in terms of the contacts and the networks and the relationships that you can offer that entrepreneur. And also, that's actually the social capital, and the human capital, the skill sets that you can bring. And they can be quite diverse. You mentioned, Katina, you mentioned marketing, financial, operations, et cetera. Like there are a lot of pieces that can be helpful for an entrepreneur. So many of your entrepreneurs, that. Here's the thing, a lot of women and a lot of Latinas, we're already doing the human capital and the social capital. What's that called? Volunteering. What's that? It's community service. So what we're saying here, and we really are encouraging to do, especially if you do have the net worth, which is what we're talking about, add that third piece. There is actually a woman entrepreneur here potentially who could be, who you might actually be able to invest in literally. And hopefully this is really very much about talking about the pipeline and what happens next. With funding, that company can then scale, can then become bigger, and the hope is that then that entrepreneur can turn around and also become an angel herself.
So we have two last questions, okay. Two more, and then we'll take Q&A. So Laura and Carol, you can either speak to scalability when China is like, we're ready for that order, or other forms of, other than VC, crowdsourcing, crowdfunding?
Let me talk about crowdfunding, because we're actually going on that way as well, because we're talking to a potential investor in the Netherlands and another one in Brazil that will only go through a crowdfunding platform. Because for them, they don't understand. And crowdfunding or crowd investing is basically where, wealthy investors, angel investors, go in and they look online on a platform. They look at different types of startups, and then they decide, okay, I want to join and be part of this, invest in this startup. So that I do have if you need help understanding crowdfunding, I do think that it's important to look at the alternatives. I've spoken at other events where I had actually the Latinas, we're ready to donate money for your startup so you can take it off the ground. And I was like, thank you, but you should try to look at crowdfunding. So even those 5,000, there's ways that you can go about. And I just wanted to say two things really quick. Well, personally, we may not invest. We know people. I know a lot of people that, I was talking to another entrepreneur earlier this week, and she has a fashion startup, and I said, I know the co-founder of Guild. Let me introduce you. So please feel free to use our networks, because I think that's very important. And second, if you're a student, learn another language, but learn Spanish the right way. So go get your grammar, how it's supposed to be. I wouldn't be where I would be if I had just let my Spanish go, and in college I hadn't taken Spanish literature, done that, and I'm doing this for the students. Learn Spanish. I got my foot in the door in YouTube and Google and Twitter because I knew another language. Well, I also learned Portuguese as well. But that is to coin what you're saying, and also use any of us. I may not know someone, I may not invest $25K right now because I'm trying to get off the ground, but I know a lot of people that would.
So to clarify, because this is actually really important, crowdfunding and crowd investing are very different. And so crowdfunding, you might have heard of Indiegogo, Kickstarter. Yeah. I will say Indiegogo actually happened before Kickstarter, and they have a woman co-founder on the team, so just giving a shout out. And at the end of the day, the way that you can think of it is advanced purchase orders, especially if they're products, or donations. And so for a lot of you, if you have a product-based sort of business, it can actually help in terms of market research, because you can see what of the packages that you have created actually gains more traction. In terms of crowd investing, and I'm going to bring up Jobs Act because there are a lot of crowd investing entrepreneurs who are like, you can do anything and everything now. So the SEC still hasn't ruled certain things, so that's on the back burner. And so for a lot of crowd investing platforms, one once again has to be an accredited investor to actually be able to invest through these platforms.
So Carol, maybe you can end with scalability. How do you know when you're ready?
So the issue around scalability has to do with the expansion of your world. So if you have a product that needs to be manufactured, then you have to be able to plan well enough in advance to figure out, I'm going to order here, it'll show up here, and then I'm going to sell it, and the revenue will come in over here. And so how will I finance that? As you are being adopted by the market, more and more people are buying your products, a lot of that scalability is being forced on you. Simple mathematics, you can't economically meet the requirements. But the other part of it is to do leaps. I'm going to go, instead of just selling in Northern California, I'm going to start selling in anywhere on the West Coast or anywhere in the United States.
What if you want to go global?
I'm going to start, selling internationally. All of that requires money. Mm-hmm. And so that process also means that the business is going to be changing. You're going to add more people, you're going to add different kind of skills, there are going to be new regulations that you have to comply with. There are a whole bunch of things that are going on, but the nice thing, especially if you're here in Silicon Valley, is you can go into any Starbucks, literally stand up and say, does anybody know, and somebody will hold a hand up. And that is why everybody comes to Silicon Valley. But before we leave, I do want to talk about one thing in terms of prep. I'm very clear that part of the reason that I've had the success that I've had in my life was because I spent a lot of time as a young girl playing strategic games. I played chess, I played Go, I played the battle games, and all of them required thinking, 2, 3, 4 moves in advance. And it literally trained my brain to think about things in a different way. And if there was any one thing that I would suggest teaching your children is get them off of playing the games that are just shooting things down and get them into playing strategic games. And with strategy, the fastest way you learn is by failure. It's okay to let your child not win, and then teach them how they could have won if. And if all of us just did that one thing, we'd have a whole new group of much more prepared for business students.
I had a final
we have to conclude because I want to take time for Q&A. We have 5 minutes for Q&A, so if you have a question, please, questions only. Sure, hi.
Yep.
The lady in the blue had her hand up first, so ladies first. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Graciela Tiscareño Sato, and I own an educational publishing firm here in the Bay Area with global distribution. I just got SBA certified as a woman-owned small business last week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So you just made the example of if you have to manufacture. Right now, I am pursuing the first federal contract and meeting with PTAC and going through those steps, while simultaneously have attracted the attention of Scholastic for our bilingual children's book series. So the big things I've wanted to happen are coming, and I'm right there at that manufacturing problem because we're going to be forced to print in China if we're going to order 400,000 books, for example. So is there any such thing as temporary angel investing? I will only need to get enough money to cover the first order and get paid.
How much do you need?
Between 100 and 200,000, depending on the size of the order.
Then don't leave here until you have a commitment.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what I
start with the room.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
Because it's there's a lot of different ways. And by the way, I did Natalie put in for the pitch contest coming up November 5th. I'm in there, Natalia. So I did submit to have that opportunity. So we'll see. But I'm kind of looking at this temporary thing because it's not forever and it's not a giant amount, but it's first big orders. So any ideas for that?
It's not an angel kind of situation.
I didn't think so.
And angels are putting money in exchange for equity. And the idea is that fuel will cause the company to be bigger and stronger, and then when there's an exit, either that the company is sold or does an IPO, that we get to share in the benefit of that fuel.
I'd say the two things are, yes, there are credit lines, and then going back to Katina's point, guess what? Women and people of color entrepreneurs, it's harder for us to secure them, and we tend to get higher interest rates. So while I say credit lines, I'm also giving all these other parts. Also consider there's some businesses who understand the lag time. So sometimes they will use, like if you have a purchase order, sometimes you can have a conversation because it's showcasing that there's a commitment, it's a promissory note of some sort. So that's a possibility.
Right, and so I wouldn't want the money until that order came. So but again, I'm strategically looking ahead because I feel like it's coming in the next 6 months.
So we're going to take this after because I want to be respectful to the people that are waiting to ask questions, but don't leave here until you have connect with Alejandra Castillo because Alejandra is the sort of federal expert on scalability.
And the short answer is go back to Scholastic and ask them to fund it. They do that on a regular basis.
Next question.
Good afternoon, ladies. My name is Jose Huitron with Crowdismo, platform fueling innovation, creativity within the Latino community. So each one of us has the power to fund ideas that we're passionate about because of crowdfunding. But I would like for you to hopefully talk a little bit about the fear of the ask. Can you
Laura?
talk about the fear of that?
Oh,
and I
God.
want to quote Natalia, who's been quoted about. She said, just stuck with me, that 25% of those women that ask for money get funded, if I quoted that correctly.
So I'm glad that you
Thank
bring it up, because this kind of goes back to, as I was saying, that it's not just that women and people of color entrepreneurs are not getting funding, it's that we're not pitching. And so I obviously shared the part that about we're not getting invited. I also shared the part about we might not know about our scalability. And then the third, which is what you're talking about, is where I out myself not as an LGBTQ Latina, because you already know that, I out myself as being pro lean in. And so the thing is, I see a lot of women and people of color entrepreneurs who hesitate. They're like, I'm not ready yet. I haven't dotted all the I's, I haven't crossed all the T's. And so what I share with them is that even if, I have this saying, which is pitching isn't a zero-sum game. And so even if, let's just say that we had a demo today and you don't feel ready yet, even if you pitched it, the feedback that the investors could give you could get you closer to that business model that could potentially work. And something that Laura, actually, you mentioned a lot, and it's so important, it's the networks and the contacts that we have. So the investors in the room might not be interested in maybe like the focus that you have. However, they might know an investor who's interested in ed tech or ag tech or food tech or fintech, and they might actually be able to make that introduction and that connection.
The best, like I'm like, yo no le ruego a nadie, like, and entrepreneurship is rogar, and you have to go above and beyond that and ask. And right now, the other investor that I said that today, yesterday when I closed one said no. I said, thank you, I appreciate it. Please let us know if you know anyone that might be interested in this. And continuously, I got another invite to go to New York to speak. And I said, would love to. Do you know anyone in your circle, the organizer, that I could meet there while I'm there? And so definitely, but be prepared. The best advice I got was to not just go and be like, I have entrepreneur friends that come like, well, I need money. And I was like, okay, who in my network do you want to, and then they're like, well, do you know anyone? I was like, I don't have time to think about you. You look at my LinkedIn and you say, I know that you worked or you were on a board with this person. Can you make the introduction? Because they are interested in the space that I'm interested in. I will make it in a second. Better if you write their own email so I could just forward it.
Okay. So this is very tweetable, which is
Natalia,
help me help you.
Yes. We're running out of time. So this is the last question. I'm so sorry, but everyone will be available to answer specific questions. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you guys again for being here. So two-part question. One is for Laura, your biggest challenge in fundraising and how you got through it. And for the other ladies, we were talking a lot about angel investing. I'm going to leave this as the second part of the question. There is such a lack for true VC money to scale and to just really take you to that next level. And I think angel investing is important, but there's that whole other hurdle. So
if you have a good angel investor, it's in their best interest to hand walk you into Kleiner, which I do on a regular basis. And say, look how pretty my little startup is. Don't you want to invest in them? And it serves me and it serves the startup. But you need the type of angel investor that will take that extra step. And right now, we're littered with people who are doing angel investing at a hobby level. They give you the money and you never see or hear from them again.
And to Carol's point, I told her about the angel this morning, and she said, you know what, that's probably the best decision he made for you guys if he wasn't leading that. The toughest part is actually understanding my team and understanding how I work with my co-founders, including someone from my team is here. She's a Latina that heard me speak at another event maybe a couple years ago. We became friends, and I said, join me. I think that this is going to be a big thing. But I think the hardest thing that anyone has to go through is that struggle, that doubt, why you're doing this. Why can't I call one of my friends? I can go work at another startup, have my 9 to 5. I sleep an average of 3 to 4 hours a day. So I think the biggest struggle is understanding that, okay, someone said no, there's someone else out there. Son como los camiones, pasa el siguiente. Como los novios, no te creas.
All novias, all right.
All novias.
So again, this concludes this esteemed panel. We are available for show and tell later. Thank you very much. It's fine, come on. I'm just walking out.
I'm gonna go, oh. Ay, gracias, Laura.
Thank you so much, Katina and panel. That was a very vibrant discussion that we had. This afternoon's programs will open with 2 keynote speakers that will discuss advancing young Latinas in STEM. And in light of that, before we leave for lunch, we're going to take 5 minutes to hear about some of the exciting initiatives that our partners Wells Fargo and Verizon have launched to promote college attainment and innovation among young Latinos. So next up is a 2-minute video on Verizon's App Innovation Challenge.
So we have the all-girls app team from Resaca Middle School in Los Fresnos, Texas. One of their classmates, an outstanding young man, Andres Salas, is visually impaired. So they designed an app to help him navigate their school and other buildings. Not only do these young ladies have big brains, but they've also got big hearts.
The Verizon Innovative App Challenge is a competition which inspires middle school and high school students to solve a problem in their school or community by developing an idea or an app concept that can eventually become a full app.
Where are you?
Here. It was awesome because I never thought, I'd ever even meet the president, let alone have him be like, I'm so proud of you guys for doing something like this.
The president of the United States, the one that's in charge of the United States, is talking about you specifically. How can you not feel shocked about that?
I couldn't actually believe that he was standing in front of me, he was shaking my hand. Was that really him? Everyone is so excited for us. Everyone's like, they're the Verizon team. They can recognize us from a mile away now, and I think that's awesome.
When I had the initial call from Verizon, it was just awesome. I couldn't believe it. I was speechless. The significance of this app and just this whole experience has been awesome.
When I clicked on submit application for Verizon Foundation and this thing, never did in my wildest dreams did I imagine that Hello Navi would be at the White House. It satisfies me that, I'm not just doing stuff for myself, but that I can do stuff for other people.
With this app, definitely I can see not only helping Andres, but a lot of people around the world.
This is what you can do with regular kids. That if you give them time, you make them believe that they can, and they totally can. And if they can do this, if they can problem solve in this manner for this particular school project, they've got the road ahead of them paved in gold. It doesn't matter how old you are or what gender you are. As long as you have the imagination and the will to do it, anything is possible.
Thanks for that, Verizon. Next, we are pleased to welcome to the stage Dolores Arredondo, who will share a few words with us on Wells Fargo's commitment to promoting college attainment for Latinos. Dolores.
Thank you. Can we have some lights? I mean, this is pretty romantic, but it's just me. No lights? Pues buenas tardes, good afternoon. I am so grateful for this summit and for the founders of this idea that helps young Latinas pursue and explore careers in STEM. I'm so excited about this. Like a true Latina, I come with my Wells Fargo family. I come with my daughter. We come from Los Angeles. We're so excited to be here with you today. And on behalf of Wells Fargo and our more than 275,000 team members, it is an absolute pleasure and honor to address you at this amazing Innovation Summit. Wells Fargo is extremely committed to ensuring that Latinos, Latinas in particular, and their families have the tools and resources they need to make their dreams of higher education a reality. As a matter of fact, Wells Fargo pledged more than $8 million to support Hispanic Scholarship Fund scholarship and support services programs to help ensure that Latino students have full access to the opportunity a college education can provide. For the students and the parents in the room, I encourage you to visit wellsfargo.com/steps for success that provides students and parents with a helpful roadmap to higher education. What was that site again, you ask? It was wellsfargo.com/steps for success. And I stand before you as testament to what can happen when you have big dreams and parents, like many of your parents, who are relentless for you, their kids. As a young Latina from East LA, I was given the opportunity to pursue my dream of being the first in my family to go to college. So my parents, like many of your parents, are immigrants. They're immigrants from Mexico with barely an elementary school education. And they came here as farm workers in Central California before they moved to East LA with me. And by the way, I have 20 half-brothers and sisters. It's a big, big family. Like many of your parents, they instilled in us the love of learning and hard work. They also instilled in us a responsibility to give back to our community, like many you are doing today. Today, I have a degree from Wellesley College outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and an MBA from Pepperdine University. And as a senior leader at one of the largest banks in the world, I share this story with you in hopes that it inspires one of these young Latinas in this room to think big, porque claro que sí se puede. In closing, I want to thank everyone who worked tirelessly to make today possible. Together, we will change the future of STEM for a better face, a prettier face, a Latina face. Thank you.
Ready to go to lunch. Yay! I just want to take literally a very brief moment to just tell you what's going to happen so that you are ready. We're going to go out those doors. There is going to be buffet lunch, which I think you're going to really enjoy. And again, thank you, Google, for that. And after that, you should have received a map. We're going to have breakout sessions. And let me tell you a little bit about the breakout sessions, because I think that's going to be important. All of you have been sitting here for hours in a group of 280, 300 people. And we really wanted you to have an opportunity, as we saw here before, there were so many people lined up that wanted to ask questions to the panelists. So the breakout sessions, it matters very little what the content or the topic is about. We have 16 breakout sessions. And we did it on purpose because we wanted them to be very, very small and intimate. So don't get hung up on whether you got the funding or the launching a startup, because what really matters is that you will be connected to two seasoned professionals in STEM or entrepreneurs or innovators that really want to tell you about their journey and hear about what you may want to ask them or something relevant about yourself. So, however, getting to these breakout sessions will give you that Google experience, because being on campus, because we are going to have to go to other buildings. So we have maps in our folders that has these dots. And if you look at your name badge, you should have a color that tells you what is that building that you're going to go to. We're going to make sure you get there at 1:30, at 1:25. We would like for you to start heading towards that meeting spot in your map, on your map. Excuse me? At 1:30, so the breakout sessions are from 1:45 to 3 o'clock, an hour and 15 minutes. This is going to be wonderful for you because you will have an opportunity to connect to your fellow attendees and also panelists. So 1:45 to 3 o'clock, but we're going to start walking at 1:30 because we want to make sure you get there on time. So there will be people who will be ushering you at 1:30 and saying, hello, bye-bye, you have to go somewhere. And then we want you to come back because we have an amazing performance by an artist, Roxini, who you are going to love. And the reason why I chose Roxini to do this, quite frankly, is because she is a woman who wants to do things her way. And she's an artist who's not willing to compromise, and she's incredibly innovative. You are going to love her. And after that, we will end our day with 2 more keynotes who will be talking about Latinas, how to advance Latinas, young Latinas in STEM. We have here today about 75 high school students, so they are our future, and we really want to make sure that we nurture their curiosity and maintain their engagement in STEM. And then after that, we will have our showcase, which will be 6 Latina innovators right here on the stage without these couches for 12 minutes each, telling you about their innovation. And after that, we have a cocktail reception with great music, drinks, and a few chips and guacamole. So, so go ahead and have fun, network.